No visibility into who followed up or didn't. Now we've got a business phone system that keeps up. With OpenPhone, our whole team can call and text from a shared number, assign follow-ups, and track every conversation with call transcripts and summaries. Best part? Whether it's after hours or we're just busy, AI steps in to handle calls, answer customer questions, and capture leads. Our phones are covered 24/7 and we never miss a beat. OpenPhone starts at just $15 a month, and they'll even port over your existing numbers for free. Over 60,000 businesses are using OpenPhone, and now I get why. Try it out and get 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/radio. That's openphone.com/radio for 20% off. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers.
Welcome to your country. Whether you're seeking the simple life or one of adventure, Country Living Loans is the lender who can help make your country life happen. Our mortgage professionals offer every customer a personalized approach, pairing your unique needs with 100 years of experience serving the Northeast. Because while there's no right way to live out here, there is a right way to finance it. Visit countrylivingloans.com. Farm Credit East is an equal housing lender, NMLS 522993.
Take advantage of the brand new SUNY Reconnect Scholarship Program and attend North Country Community College for free. This initiative is designed for students aged 25 to 55 completing an associate's degree for the first time. This opportunity covers costs like tuition, fees, books, and supplies. Funding is available for a select group of high-demand degree programs. Visit nccc.edu/reconnect or call 888-MCCC for a complete list of eligible programs.
Here's Michelle Murray in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
Slow traffic on the inner loop of the Beltway between 66 and the 270 spur. Within the delay, there is a disabled on the inner loop after Old Georgetown Road, and delays continue beyond that all the way to University Boulevard, and more slowdowns from 95 to Kenilworth Avenue. Outer loop is heavy from the 270 spur to the George Washington Parkway. Also slow from the Springfield interchange to the Wilson Bridge. Slow traffic on 95 from Springfield heading towards Woodbridge. An accident now being reported on 295 southbound after Laboratory Road. That has traffic jam from South Capitol Street. Now from GarageRepair.com, the WMAL Stormwatch 7 forecast.
Showers and storms draw to a close overnight. Tomorrow, a strong cold front will bring a line of strong to severe thunderstorms during the afternoon and early evening. Highs in the 80s, less humid and sunny on Wednesday. I'm 7 News meteorologist Steve Rudin in the First Alert Weather Center.
Right now, 91 degrees in Washington. I'm Heather Curtis on WMAL.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. Mark Levin.
Fielding, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
So there have been so many things that I have been super optimistic about. I've been super excited to tell you. We are on the verge of monumental victories, reigning in tyranny. And maybe, just maybe, the BBB. But that's actually not where I'm starting the show today, because within about the last hour or so, there are a lot of things that have gone at least somewhat sideways. I mean, some a little bit earlier in the day, but definitely within the last hour and a half or so, there are some things that have gone sideways that have really started to grind my gears. Now, obviously, this is not Mark Levin. Mark, enjoying a little time. It is Brian Mudd with you. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. And super pumped heading into this week because we are winning. It's Independence Day week. And then, I'm going to start with the Votorama thing. And I mean not to get myself into a rabbit hole here at the onset of the show, but some things just need to be said. And so there is a very direct message about now for the Vice President of the United States. So Mr. Van, stand by for news. Okay, so here's the deal. Based upon how closely you have been watching developments with the one big, potentially aesthetically pleasing bill, you know, might be beautiful. It has some warts on it, right? Got some warts. But if you don't stare at it like head on, Or if you look at it the right line, maybe it puts a little makeup on, could look beautiful, right? But anyway, at minimum, the somewhat at least aesthetically pleasing bill. You might have known that the Senate parliamentarian, which you may know way more than you ever wanted to know about if you have been paying attention. One of the things that the Senate parliamentarian ruled on, Medicaid. Medicaid and illegal aliens, and specifically that in order to meet the reconciliation process, meaning a simple majority vote in the Senate, not a 60 vote filibuster proof majority. Now, you know what? You can't kick illegal aliens. You can't even kick the criminal illegal aliens off of Medicaid, which is a whole other thing that we're going to get into in just a bit. By the way, because I did promise that I've got a lot of good stuff for you today, coming up in the second hour, I'm going to get into exactly what the OBBBA means to you. Cut through the crap, tell you exactly how much you are set to save and how much your taxes are going to go up if this thing doesn't pass. I'm going to tell you exactly what it means to you. And there's a lot of good news there. I mean, if they don't screw this thing up. But the Senate parliamentarian in this Medicaid thing. So the Senate parliamentarian says, yeah, you know what? You can't do reconciliation. You can't do a simple Senate majority vote and kick even criminal illegal aliens off Medicaid. So as part of the vote-a-rama that's been going on throughout the day today, one of the measures that came up for a vote, and this is about a little over an hour ago now, was this measure to kick illegal aliens off of Medicaid. It failed. It failed. And it failed because almost every Democrat voted to keep illegal aliens on Medicaid. Almost every Democrat voted to keep even criminal illegal aliens on Medicaid. It failed 56-44. Again, because the parliamentarian said you need 60 votes. So this is my message for the Vice President of the United States, who has been standing by the United States Senate all day in case he actually is needed as a tie-breaking vote. Get your ass off of whatever seat it's on right now and go tell the Senate parliamentarian to pound sand. Here's the deal with the Senate parliamentarian. This unelected position does not get to rule through some kind of weird self-imposed executive fiat. You know, they don't get to play like they're some district court judge and I am king of all legislation. The bottom line is there are two ways that you can break a decision by the Senate parliamentarian. And this has happened 5 times since 1967. The two ways you can have the Senate overrule through a vote the parliamentarian. So that did not happen here. The other one is that the president of the Senate, of course, the vice president of the United States, can tell the Senate parliamentarian to pound sand or whatever it is they want to tell them, but overrule them. Of the 5 times this has happened since 1967, twice the parliamentarian has been overruled by Senate vote. 3 times by the vice president. This needs to become number 4. So before we advance into anything else I was planning to do with this show, JD Vance, get your butt off of whatever seat it's on right now and go tell the Senate parliamentarian to pound sand. In the grand scheme of I never want to hear another person talk about, oh my gosh, people are going to lose Medicare. They're going to lose all the Medicare or Medicaid. We're going to get people who need Medicaid off Medicaid. And by the way, that's a guy. That's a guy who neutered himself. It's the guy back in 2020 who was going, tweets. Give me Joe Biden. You know that guy? He's still around. Still neutered, obviously. Just different issue. So that needs to happen. So that's why I'm starting the show there, because there's something actionable in real time for the Vice President of the United States. And another reason this is a problem is in part for that issue, but also some of the other things that the Senate parliamentarian ruled on. You now have the House Freedom Caucus that is freaking out. And so even if the vote goes down in the Senate tonight, you have members of the House Freedom Caucus pledging to blow the One Big Beautiful Bill Act up when it gets to the House. So out of a means of self-preservation to the vice president, to this administration, to the president's agenda, Vance should be doing what he can in real time to try to save this thing. Speaking of needing saving, the other bit of breaking news that's come down within the past hour, you kind of saw this coming, but now that we're in the 11th hour with a vote that could go down potentially tonight in the Senate on the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, you have Elon Musk, who has come out and said, quote, every member of Congress who campaigned on reducing government spending and voted for the Big Beautiful Bill, they will lose their primary next year if it's the last thing I do on this earth. Again, you kind of knew that was going to happen at some point, but Musk is now weighing in. Like, yeah, if you're a conservative and you vote for this thing, I'm primarying you next year. So Musk is now doing everything he can possibly do to blow this thing up. So that is the breaking news as we start the show. And what has changed my entire tune, which was otherwise going to be a bit more optimistic out of the jump here. I do want to talk about a monumental victory. I do want to talk about something. Let's get into it. How about we actually, this is where I intended to start the show with you. Because there have been so many monumental victories for President Trump recently. I mean, when you hear Trump himself talking about a monumental victory, you might be wondering, which one? Which one? Are we talking about blowing up Iran's nuclear program? Ending the related war? Are we talking about getting NATO countries to pay their fair share for military defense under the alliance? Maybe he's talking about the Chinese trade deal coming together, or the Canadians caving to Trump's trade demands over the weekend. By the way, speaking of trade, the UK trade deal that had been ratified already, today was the first day it actually took effect. Maybe President Trump was talking about the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, because it had been on track up till, I don't know, very recently. Trump could be talking about the S&P 500 NASDAQ reaching all-time highs yet again today as we've closed out the first half of the year in record territory. How many people that were in full freak-out mode after Liberation Day saw that one coming? By the way, raise his hand here, because as I told you right around that window of time, that was one of the greatest buying opportunities in American history. I like to say I've not made a career out of being wrong. Anyway, all those are massive wins, right? Maybe Trump's monumental victory is just about the economy generally, because that is going awfully well. And one of the amazing things is that President Trump has had monumental wins with all of those things pretty much within the past week. But remarkably, as we take a look at President Trump, and he has been working at this record pace to make America great again, Trump's monumental win came after his administration's huge wins at the United States Supreme Court. As Trump said on Friday, the Supreme Court has delivered a monumental victory for the Constitution, the separation of powers, and the rule of law. And they most certainly did. As the Supreme Court, in a 6-3 ruling, put an end to the unconstitutional abuse of anti-American post-constitutional district court judges. Did you know? I wanted to update you as to the extent of the new form of lawfare. You know, these Boasbergs and district court judges who think they're as powerful as the president of the United States. Do you know that we have had 303 lawsuits filed against the Trump administration so far? This is day 160. 160 of the Trump administration. So in other words, we are averaging basically 2 lawsuits per day against the Trump administration, weekends included. And of them, of the 303 lawsuits filed, only 12 have been closed. Because you have all these left-wing groups that seek left-wing activists in robes.
Brian Mudd,
who've most commonly pretended that they,
I believe he's in Miami,
district court judges, are as powerful as the president of the United States. And so it was always an obvious and an insane argument. Nevertheless, leftist activists in robes with TDS had partially or fully blocked. How many do you think? How many of President Trump's actions do you think these district court judges had blocked?
40.
97. Partially or fully blocked 97 of President Trump's directives. By the way, he signed 164 executive orders. There are another 75 cases that are pending right now. In other words, there are actually more outstanding cases than orders that have not been messed with. The nationwide injunction part that was wholly unconstitutional. How many wholly unconstitutional nationwide injunctions were issued? 40. 40. So as Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote in the court's opinion on Friday, the injunctions before us today reflect a more recent development. District courts assert the power to prohibit enforcement of a law or policy against anyone. These injunctions, known as universal injunctions, likely exceed the equitable authority that Congress has granted to the federal courts. And so, yes, with that, the Supreme Court put an end to the tyranny of the district court judges. For now, there's more of that to come, and I'll pick up there next, along with all the other late-breaking news we've got here. Plus, we're going to talk about saying no to slugs as well. I'll explain. This is Brian Mudd, in for the great one.
Mudd Levin. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Accident activity on 295 southbound after Laboratory Road has traffic jammed up from South Capitol Street. And in Southeast, there's still an accident on Malcolm X Avenue at 295 and on East Capitol Street at 4th Street. Use caution there. Also, you will find delays right now on DC 295 north down between the 11th Street Bridge and Eastern Avenue and southbound the slope from Burroughs Avenue towards East Capitol Street. And the BW Parkway is heavy through Riverdale and again from Nassau Valley towards 197. Also on Parkway between 198 and Powder Mill Road. Now the garage right here at WMAL. So much to the forecast.
Tonight, mostly cloudy with showers and thunderstorms likely early, then ending overnight. A low around 76. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with showers and thunderstorms likely. Highs near 91.
Hi, I'm Dorina, co-founder of OpenPhone. My dad is a business owner, and growing up, he always kept his ringtone super loud, so he'd never missed a customer call. OpenPhone gives your team business phone numbers to call and text, all in one shared workspace. And our AI agent answers.
Tiffany, I'm trying to suck my gut in so it don't look so big.
Over 60,000 businesses use OpenPhone. Get 20% off at
openphone.com. Slouching.
OpenPhone. No missed calls.
Hey, 20 would you bid 30, 30 would you bid 40. That's the sound you're going to hear at the next Brostek auction. Hi, I'm Bernie Brostek of Brostek's Real Estate Auction Company of Baldwinsville, New York, and I have 40 years of proven experience in selling antiques, businesses, estates, households, residential and commercial and waterfront real estate. Call me at 678-2000 for a free, no-obligation consultation and find out how you can receive top cash price for your real estate and personal property in one day the Brostek auction way. And it's sold.
Nuclear energy works 24/7, 365.
Nuclear is also the largest source of clean energy in America.
The majority of Americans support clean nuclear energy. You can get loud about it. It's no secret. Visit comeclean.energy.
U.S. soccer fans,
Get closer to the players, voices, and stories of the beautiful game with the U.S. Soccer Podcast. Megan Klingenberg, Alejandro Bedoya, and host David Gass bring you behind-the-scenes access to U.S. Soccer's 27 national teams, including exclusive interviews, stories, and spotlights. The U.S. Soccer Podcast is out now. Find it wherever you listen to podcasts.
Making sense of your world.
This is no conspiracy theory. This is a fact. Here it is.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 to 9 p.m.
Listen to this, would you?
News Talk 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of the news.
You want to grow your business. I mean, who doesn't? Constant Contact's marketing platform makes marketing way easier and way more effective. Even if you know nothing about marketing, you can easily create email, text, social, events, and digital campaigns in just a few clicks. It's why over 500,000 business owners trust Constant Contact for their digital marketing.
Sun's
needs.
bright.
Constant Contact.
I got my
Helping
fans
small
on.
businesses
It's cool in
Get a
here.
free 30-day trial when you go to ConstantContact.com. ConstantContact.com.
I feel so stuck.
The Veterans Crisis Line is here for you. Dial 988, then press 1 to call.
Good never stops, and neither does Children International. To learn more, go to children.org/help today.
At Shriners Hospitals for Children, there are a million reasons to share love.
And I am one of them.
There are a million reasons to share love, but you only need one. To learn how you can share love, visit loveshriners.org.
We all know Americans are still recovering from the record inflation of the last 4 years. Now, some in Congress want to make cuts to Medicaid, a program that provides critical health care to 72 million struggling Americans, including veterans, people with disabilities, kids, and your friends and neighbors. 40% of American births are covered by Medicaid, and Medicaid covers health care costs for a third of children with cancer. Working families rely on this program. It has 77% support. Nearly 9 in 10 Americans oppose Medicaid cuts. Did you know that 12 million Medicaid families live in rural communities? Many of these people voted for President Trump, but they didn't vote for this. If Congress cuts Medicaid, a lot of rural hospitals could close, and a lot of rural families will be hurt. No matter how you look at it, cutting Medicaid just doesn't make sense. Tell Congress not to cut Medicaid. Our health and our communities depend on it. Paid for by the Coalition to Strengthen America's Healthcare.
WMAL, making
go to
sense
Chamber
of
of
the
Commerce page.
headlines
What's going on
because
over here?
common sense isn't so common. Download the WMAL.
Wow,
app.
Rusty's checking me out. Rusty's looking at Governor of New York. Wow, Rusty.
There are fireworks planned on Thursday, July 3rd. Thank you to the Governor Fire Department.
Anybody's Medicare. What we're doing is we're going after waste, fraud, and abuse, and there's a heck of a lot of it out there.
Yeah, that Kevin Hassett, the director of the Economic Council, and yeah. So the Medicaid thing is so much BS. Brian Mudd in for Mark Levin, so much BS. But the biggest BS of all is what is happening and what ended up clearing in the Votorama, which is people want to talk about getting kicked off of Medicaid. You have illegal immigrants, even criminal illegal immigrants that are going to be kept on Medicaid, even if it passes as it is currently written.
Talk to him.
So I do not want to hear about anybody getting kicked off of Medicaid. And I will end up breaking down these slugs. Let me be clear. Anybody who gets kicked off Medicaid, if the One Big Beautiful Bill Act passes, never should have been on it in the first place. You're a slug. Anybody getting kicked off of Medicaid, if this happens, is a slug who needs to get their lazy butt off the couch and stop living off the rest of us. I'm going to explain exactly who these lazy slugs are.
That explains that.
But this is apparently going to be one of those shows where we get a lot of breaking news. And so, completely unrelated to what we've been talking about, but big story. So, you might remember the 4 University of Idaho students that were murdered in 2022?
Because that's what you do.
Well,
every
the
day.
piece of human debris, Brian Coburg, who's been on trial
You know what I did?
for their murders,
Here's another
he's taken a plea deal.
comment
And
I
so
have.
Brian Coburg has pled guilty to murdering those four University of Idaho students. He's accepted a life in prison sentence. They removed the death penalty for the plea.
I've never had
So that just went down.
on my panel. Okay, maybe once.
In the grand scheme of things that are going down. Hopefully it's not going to be the BBB tonight.
It's not.
So I'm going to walk through some of what we're talking about on the judicial stuff. What the next game is going to be played by the district court judges and by the leftists. And we're going to talk about who really would lose Medicaid. It's only people who never deserve to have it in the first place. I'm Brian Mudd in for the great one, Mark Levin.
Disgusting. Retarded
Folks, you work
ass.
hard, you save, you plan for the future. And if you want to help preserve what you've built, now's the time to take a serious look at physical gold. Gold doesn't depend on Wall Street. It doesn't care what the Fed does. It's a proven store of value that can add strength, stability, and security to your retirement money. With all the uncertainty out there, rising debt, rising costs, and so forth, you need something real. That's why I recommend Advantage Gold. They make it easy to learn how to move part of your IRA or 401k into real gold and silver, backed by experience, integrity, and top-rated service. Call right now. 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Protect what you've earned with something you can hold in your hand and trust in your heart. Call right now. 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. It's never too late to make your portfolio stronger, smarter, and more secure. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington. A Cumulus Media Station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now.
WMAL News at 6:30. I'm Heather Curtis. New this hour, we're learning more about the sniper who police say started a brush fire in Idaho and then ambushed responding firefighters, injuring 2 and killing 1. The suspect's been identified as 20-year-old Wes Rowley. Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris says Rowley shot the firefighters after they asked him to move his car. Norris thinks Rowley died by suicide while a manhunt was underway to find him. Norris says they're reviewing his social media accounts to
find out intent, to find out if there was any other, if there was a motive.
Police are also investigating the crime scene and claim that Rowley may have been living in his car. New laws go into effect across the region tomorrow. In Virginia, school leaders will be required to notify parents of confirmed or suspected school-connected student overdoses within 24 hours. In Maryland, the Next Generation Energy Act will give residential electric customers 2 $40 credits on their bills, one in late summer and the other at the start of next year. Traffic and weather next.
Hi, I'm Dorina, co-founder of OpenPhone. My dad is a business owner, and growing up, he always kept his ringtone super loud because he never missed a customer call. OpenPhone gives your team business phone numbers to call and text, all in one shared workspace. And our AI agent answers 24/7, so you never miss a customer. Over 60,000 businesses use OpenPhone. Get 20% off at openphone.com/radio. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers.
Not responding.
Illuminating the issues.
There's a whole lot missing to me too. He threatened to punch me in the face.
Every day.
He said all
Why
that
are we
shit.
the only ones reporting this? News Talk 105.9.
How many times has he sat there on because he's been
SweetDeals.com
sat
lets
up
you
on
spend
his
less and
panel
have more.
and
Save at
talked
least
about
50% on
I don't
extraordinary
even know,
restaurant,
'cause I don't
product, and
listen.
entertainment deals.
Because I'm
Plus,
not looking for
amazing
his
vacation
attention.
packages.
Because I'm
Live
not
large
addicted
and save
to
money
it.
while doing
I
it.
don't have
Go to
my
SweetDeals.com
ass
today
in
and start saving.
Welcome to your country. Whether you're seeking the simple life or one of adventure, Country Living Loans is the lender who can help make your country life happen. Our mortgage
They already know,
professionals offer
Rusty.
every customer a personalized
They already
approach,
know.
pairing your unique needs with 100 years of experience serving the Northeast. Because while there's no right way to live out here, there is a right way to finance. Visit CountryLivingLoans.com. Farm Credit East is an equal housing lender, NMLS 522993.
No, you don't need to buy oversized pants if you want to earn more money.
Just listen to Bigger Pockets.
Because it's really just kind of a little bit of a cheat code.
The money-making podcast that has something for everyone. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
On your ass with Monica Fielder.
Whatever, Jamie's Coffee Corner. Our coffee has caffeine, our muffins are cooked, and our services, well, we're here. Come on by for an average cup of joe.
Average doesn't build great businesses. Cumulus Digital does, outperforming industry benchmarks by more than 25%. We deliver smarter digital marketing to over 4,000 local businesses every month and drive real, measurable growth. You're not average. Your marketing results shouldn't be either. Visit cumulusdigital.com to start outperforming today.
I was
choosing alcohol over my family. That's when I made the call. Now I'm finding better ways to cope.
I don't even know
Mental
how
health
many
care
hours
works when you make the
I
call.
have
Visit mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
To some, a baby's babbling doesn't mean much, but it does. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
If he doesn't, I'll let you know. I'll come back and I'll hit him hard, okay? No?
Do you
He did it very affectionate. He, Daddy, you're my daddy.
Let him in your side, Jack.
So that is just an all-time favorite right there. I mean, that was an instant classic, guilty pleasure. The Daddy, You're My Daddy. That'll live for forever. Of course, from the NATO Symbolized. Part of what was so great about that, by the way, was just that was the Sky News reporter there asking a question. She was sincere. You know, you got Marco, and what's funny is I was texting with one of the White House correspondents that was right before the president there, and he.
So your dumb ass is up there fucking cocking and crowing and bleeding with your, you know what, your French accent makes you sound like a complete fucking 40 IQ low life retarded old lady. You're fucking 70 years old. I fucking know. I'm gonna 23 and me you because you were born in 1958 and you convinced everybody that Gary was 17 years older than you and he's only 6 years older than you. Here, I'll let you breathe for a minute.
So bottom line is this, I already knew it. Tiffany's trying to find, she has Riley Todd's name and she's trying to find him in Governor. Trying to find these people because she feels like she needs to talk to him. You see, this fucking bitch sticking in here knows people's business. They fucking set you up bad.
What has been happening, and just within the past week, you take a look at bombing Iran's nuclear program. You talk about NATO countries paying their fair share for military defense. By the way, I'll tell you how much that's going to save us as well in just a bit. You talk about the Chinese trade deal coming together, Canada caving to Trump, England's trade deal going into place today. You talk about the S&P 500 and NASDAQ reaching all-time highs, closing out the first half of the year. Just so many good things going on. And yeah, we got some really important Supreme Court wins over the past week as well. And that's where I left off. And I want to pick up there because the Supreme Court made a major move, obviously, to put an end to the dictatorship that had emerged with the Boasbergs of the world, the low federal court, district court judges, the universal injunction, 40 of them that have been issued against the Trump administration so far. And you had the tyranny of those district court judges.
Let's give them something
last Friday.
Talk about.
But for now, so we'll likely see a new tactic that is going to be attempted going forward. And the effort is going to be class action. You're going to see an effort to obtain class action status for lawsuits, and also for left-wing states that are going to be pursuing those cases as well, going in with these left-wing groups to try to gain as much jurisdiction as possible for these rulings. Because they're going to say, well, You know, my district is this district, so they're going to try to bring as many people into the fold as possible for low court judges to try to rule on these things. So that is the next tactic and where it's going. But nevertheless, what happened was necessary, and it was a monumental victory, not just for Trump, but for the country.
Let's give them something to talk about.
But of course, there were other monumental SCOTUS victories last week, including the court recently upholding Tennessee's banning child mutilation. What's also known as gender-affirming care.
I've already been rescued.
If you want to know who a sick freak is, a really sick, disgusting freak of a human, it's somebody who calls child mutilation gender-affirming care. Anybody that travels down that path, man, not the kind of people you want babysitting your kids. I can tell you that much.
Somebody's a hurt unit. That's all I can say.
No to child mutilation. Yes to religious liberty. As the court ruled in favor of parents pulling their kids out of classes that indoctrinate them with children with the homosexual alphabet agenda. A ruling that is kind of like doubly rewarding to have come down during Pride Month. Speaking of the time in which, like, you got immoral things and indoctrination imposed throughout this country. By the way, I mean, there is one thing that has been nice to see this month. And it was my hypothesis going in. You notice how much less queer June turned out to be this year? A lot less queer. A lot less wokeness. Still some of it out there. But yeah, not nearly as gay this country as it was even a year ago. Certainly not as homosexual as they made things a couple of years ago. Remember you could just enjoy a rainbow without thinking of a dude in drag? So, and with that, turning attention to the BBB. So, all through the weekend, you probably followed some of what went down. The Senate's all-night reading of the theoretically aesthetically pleasing bill, the vote-a-rama that's been going on today. Who knows, the pending vote tonight. Kind of lost track of where we are in the whole vote-a-rama thing. And we'll see. I mean, the idea was we're going to get through vote-a-rama and we're going to get to a vote tonight. If that happens, you know, a couple of people are asking me, what do you think? Is the Senate going to pass this thing? Well, I mean, Elon is obviously trying to do his best in real time to sink this thing. But you got to say on balance, why would 51 senators have voted to get this far? Because they really wanted Elizabeth Warren to have a lot of time to talk to them throughout the night. Sunday morning. Was that really what they were voting for? They wanted that to take place. They really just wanted some more time to be able to hear the sweet whisper of Chuck Schumer in their ear. I don't think that's what anybody was going for, right? So I don't know that anybody votes on Saturday to bring this thing to this point only to say, and I'm going to end up killing it in the end. I mean, you have to be, you know, a little bit masochistic if that was your end game. So I've got to think that the 51 senators that voted to get it here are probably still in the game. And, you know, Republicans could still lose one more, and J.D. Vance could be the tie-breaking vote if it got down to it. So the biggest question of all might not necessarily be what happens in the Senate potentially tonight, but it's actually what's going down with your House representative with the OBBBA, as the case happens to be. Now, you remember the House version of the bill, it passed by exactly one vote the first time. And so there is no margin to spare.
I appreciate that.
And one of the things that I spent a little time doing, trying to figure out exactly what are the biggest differences. What are the real sticking points here between the House version and the Senate's final bill? And I've got to throw out the asterisk that I have not put any changes from any vote-a-rama stuff in here today. I'm not sure if we've had any changes with the vote-a-rama stuff anyway, last that I was able to tell. So this might be what it is in real time anyway. But if you're really trying to figure out, okay, where are these big differences that could end up being such a sticking point in the House? You have tighter Medicaid work requirements and thus greater savings that were put into the Senate plan. Except that now you have illegal aliens because of the Senate parliamentarian and J.D. Vance not having overruled her yet. Vance, get your butt up and overrule parliamentarian. And so illegal aliens would now stay in. But otherwise, the Medicaid work requirements are tighter that were put into this thing in the Senate than in the House. The House version raised the SALT cap for deductions from $10,000 to $40,000 and would make it permanent. The Senate version kept the $40,000 cap, but made it temporary, expiring after 2030.
So whatever he's saying about
the Senate increased the standard deduction for seniors over 65, which will be up to $6,000 per year. That's $2,000 higher than the House. And I'll just pause on this real quick because I think there's a lot of confusion with seniors on this. You remember that President Trump last year, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and then a little bit later in the campaign season, he said, and maybe no tax on Social Security either.
So
remember how he did that? It wasn't as definitive as no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. So what actually is in the one big, potentially aesthetically pleasing bill with a wart or two that maybe you put some makeup on and it's okay?
But you can't stop begging for his attention.
What you end up getting is an increase in standard deductions that basically covers the taxes on Social Security for almost all seniors. So it has almost essentially the same effect, but it's a different way of getting there. So hopefully that's helpful. So yeah, the Senate increased the standard deduction for seniors 65 and older to $6,000 per year, $2,000 higher than.
You're the one that said that Gary was significantly older than you. So you brought that on yourself.
The Freedom Caucus folks. I mean, when I was really trying to get persnickety digging into some of the details on this stuff, I mean, like the Senate version fades out solar tax credits more slowly than the House version. The Senate version includes 20% less in school choice grants than the House version, while even the Pell Grant program intact.
It's obvious.
I mean, there's more to the story, but that's kind of the gist of it. You know, at the point where I'm getting into solar tax credits and Pell Grant stuff,
let's do an analysis.
I'm like, you know what? The divide is actually not that huge. It actually is not. None of these changes are like major changes. I mean, the debt ceiling thing, okay.
That you like to show
so we are talking about, you know, $1 trillion more in the Senate than the House. That is not nothing. But we're not talking like just wholesale changes from the House
25 years apart.
So for the House members that are becoming holier than thou all of a sudden on this thing. Now, the one thing that, of course, has been the thing that House Freedom Caucus members have mentioned throughout the day today, the end result. So if you go by some of the latest CBO scoring, theoretically, the Senate version would run the federal debt up by $500 to $800 billion more than the original House bill over the next decade. Now, one of the arguments here is that it's largely due to expanded tax breaks in the Senate version that a lot of conservatives would argue will produce a higher growth economy, and thus that'll end up producing more revenue for the Treasury than what the CBO is projecting. So it actually won't end up being that.
But you're stupid.
Which, by the way, most of the time when members of Congress say that kind of thing's going to happen, they're lying to you. But if you remember the first time around, what did Trump say he was going to do? We're going to pass the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, and it is going to create a 4% growth economy. And remember how everybody, you know, all your Wall Street economists said, "Oh, that will never happen. It can't happen."
Got that information.
And it did.
About my brother.
So
and I guess she used.
It's happened once.
She thinks she's
if it's going to happen again,
so
it'll happen with Trump's second crack at tax policy and his overall agenda. So anyway,
so we can really verify
it is a far cry from where the conversation started in the Senate. You might recall that when the House bill got to the Senate, the idea was, well, we're going to end up having more savings than the House. That doesn't really look like where we ended up. I mean, there is, like, for example, in Medicaid with the work requirements.
Blind. I guess I could take over, right?
You know, then it's made up with extra tax cuts.
You want me to rant and
where does the House stand on this thing? We know it's divided along political lines.
Because I can. I'm the
And
judge.
can't be divided more than the loss of 3 Republicans on the GOP side. So whether your House representative is down with the BBB ultimately could determine whether President Trump receives what to him in this entire thing would be his ultimate victory. I'm Brian Mudd, in for the great one.
All right, let's get off Granny Loose Knuckle. Okay, who else wants a turn?
WMAL.
I hit Shannon. I hit JC. I hit Butterface. Who's next?
The world on edge. Massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities of the Iranian regime.
I don't really want to discuss Vader.
Screen WMAL for breaking
I'm trying to stay away from that situation. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to take action against him, but I figured out that that situation is never ending situation. These women that claim that he's harassing them, then turn around and continue. See, that's the thing. That's why I don't stream.
On the outer defines
because I'm not triggered into streaming.
From the spur to the GW Parkway, to Fairfax, and
I had somebody make 600 live streams about me that I rejected, so I definitely know what's up. But the thing is you can't fight these psychos back.
And northbound heavy from Boundary Channel
it's the second that you do that,
there's still some slowing eastbound on the freeway between the 14th Bridge and Main Avenue.
Vader is a psycho. It's not just the alcohol.
Tonight, mostly cloudy with showers and thunderstorms likely early, then ending overnight. A low around 76. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with showers and thunderstorms likely. Highs near 91.
You and the way what he's doing to you.
Every missed call is a missed
And then
opportunity.
you allow
Before
him
my
in
team
your
found open phone, it was
side
chaos.
chat.
Personal
You
numbers
allow
for
him on
customer
your panel.
calls,
You've done it
missed
several
messages,
times, so.
no visibility into who followed up.
And I'm in
or
there
did.
going, yeah, you did
Now we've
this,
got a
you did
business phone
that, you
system
did
that
this, you
keeps
did
up.
that, and then
With
you
open
turn
phone,
around
our
and
whole
you just
team can
totally
call
pat him
and
on the
text
back.
from a shared
That's the way
number,
I see it. So
assign
I'm not even
follow-ups, and track
gonna
every
get involved in
conversation
that
with call
anymore.
transcripts and summaries. Best part? Whether it's after hours or we're just busy,
Yeah,
AI
that's
steps in
exactly
to
it.
handle
When you're
calls,
holding a
answer
live stream and I'm
customer
in there
questions,
talking
and
about what you
capture
did to
leads.
me,
Our phones
it's
are
not
covered
really
24/7, and we never
suiting
miss a beat.
you.
Open
I don't
phone
mean to
starts at
be
just
like that. I don't
$15
want to
a
be
month, and they'll
selfish,
even
but
port over your
I'm in the
existing
United
numbers for free.
States.
Over 60,000 businesses
that
are
you
using
can't do
Open
anything
Phone,
to him
and now
because
I
you're
get
in the
why.
UK,
Try it out and get
and so he
20% off your
continues
first
to do
6
that.
months at
And then I guess you feel
openphone.com/radio.
defeated because you
That's
continue to allow him
openphone.com/radio for
to abuse
20%
you. And
off.
just one more comment on
Open
that.
Phone. No missed
He
calls, no
attacked
missed
your
customers.
mother more than one time.
As a young adult at this point in your life,
He
you
claimed that
probably
he
have a lot
was
of
blacked
questions.
out
Like,
the
what's
first time
next?
that he
What does my
did it,
future hold?
and they didn't
The thing is,
remember.
there's no right answer.
But then he went and did
only
it
your
again.
answer.
So
Your friendships, experiences, and
exactly
purpose.
what he's doing.
It's all your choice.
And
So what will you choose? As you make choices about the future, the military can be a resource
You know,
for
my
information
philosophy,
to help bring a
not telling you
fulfilling
guys what
path
to
into
do,
focus. A public
but
service message from the Department of Defense. To learn more,
that's
visit
all I'll say about it.
todaysmilitary.com.
Because basically the past
My
7
dance
days
ties
has been
into
all about
Mother Nature.
freaking out about
And in
Vader
Wyoming,
to the
you
people
realize
that I
how
spend most of my
important
time
it
with.
is to connect
And
with
Vader running
everything
hate
around you.
streams.
See the
And
beautiful
Vader
mountains. See
made
the
the colossal
sagebrush.
But I'm a
You're able
spammer.
to
a 1
look
hour
out
hate
at that
stream
simple
against
thing.
me,
In every direction
threatening
you can
violence
see it.
against
Take what you learn and
threatening
pass it
me
on.
in
I'm
general.
Jasmine
And the entire
Pizzarro,
time he
two-time
had
world
a
champion
picture of
dancer,
me
mother, and
on his
educator.
piano.
Learn more at travelwyoming.com.
So, as I said earlier, you don't want to trigger me because you think it's funny or you think you're a brave,
6 billion meals to
brave
people in
dude.
need each year.
I
Learn
will
more at
go after you,
feedingamerica.org.
and I will teach you a lesson.
WMAL.
I know she's not talking to me.
Because I am in
fraction
the
of a raindrop.
States, and I
3
can't
grains
take
of
action
salt.
against you and make it
At up to
stick
100 times
and
more potent than morphine.
embarrass you
The
and
tiniest amount
humiliate
of illegal
you and
fentanyl
make you
is all it
explain
takes to cause an
yourself
overdose.
to a United States
Fentanyl can
judge.
be mixed into heroin, cocaine, pressed pills, meth,
As
and other
I've
drugs.
demonstrated,
It could
and
be in
I've
your
said
drugs,
many
and you
times,
wouldn't be able to
where
see
I
it,
live
taste it,
on the
or smell
internet,
it. Learn
in
more
Pierce
at
County.
cdc.gov/stop
Talk My
overdose.
Wireless Company, a
Is
veteran-led
Zoom
company, believes every man and woman who
Zoom
has
court.
faithfully served this
Allowed as a
country
United
deserves
States
to
citizen
proudly
and a
fly an
citizen of
American flag.
Washington
It was made
State
in America. That's why Pure
file
Talk is on a
protection
mission to
order
give an
against
allegiance
anybody
flag, the
in the
highest
United
quality
States of
American
America
flag ever, to 1,000 U.S.
that I
veterans in time for
Yeah,
the
but
patriotic
they're not-
holidays.
protection order
Switch
filed
your
This
against
person's
them.
in the UK, though.
Today. Know that you're supporting a company that will be
You
providing
can't get an
the
order of
highest
protection
quality
out
flags
here.
made in America
Committed the
for deserving
offense.
veterans with plans
Makes
from
it
just
so that I can
$25 a month
go
for
ahead
unlimited talk,
and
text, and
force
plenty of
you
data. You can enjoy America's
anywhere
most
in the
dependable
United
5G
Anyway.
States,
network
Canada,
while
and
cutting your
Mexico,
cell phone bill in
basically
many
the
cases in
northern
half. The
hemisphere.
average Pure Talk family saves over
Because that is
$1,000
the
a
way
year.
my
Just dial
court system
pound
works.
250, say the
And when
keyword
you
Mark
offend
Levin,
me
and Pure Talk's U.S.
in my
customer
state,
service will
which is
get you
on my
switched
computer
hassle-free
in my
in as little
home,
as 10 minutes.
I can
Again,
take
dial
action
pound
against you,
250
and
and
there's
say
nothing
Mark Levin
you
to
can do
switch
about
to
it.
a wireless company that supports
And you
our
just have to
veterans.
ask
Switch
Tom
to Pure
Flash.
Talk.
Because he lives in New Jersey,
sense of your
and I
world.
filed a protection order against him and
News
made
Talk
him attend a court date.
WMAL.
Thanks for taking my call.
And you'll notice that he doesn't live stream and talk about me anymore.
WMAL, making sense of world events. Because those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Download the WMAL.
And I don't play the tape.
Oh, I'm hoping she doesn't turn me in for copyright.
By the court,
freedom of religion.
and
To
as it
opt out
turns
of
out, because there
divisive and
was another case
ideological
before me
lessons
that
that
got
go against their
onto
family's values and beliefs.
they only send DVDs.
Yeah, amen. That's
on the DVD
Linda
was the case
McMahon,
before
Education Secretary.
Now,
That was
those
one of the
people didn't
Supreme
have
Court
the
rulings
problem.
that came in
They were not allowed on
favor of
camera
religious
because
liberty, allowing
in the
parents to remove their
recorded
kids from
portion
classes
of
that
this
indoctrinate with the
they do
homosexual
not show
alphabet
the
agenda.
camera. It's
And
only
that
audio
was
for
just one
everyone.
of two really
So you're not going to
important,
get me on
basically
camera.
related rulings by the Supreme Court
And
recently.
this
The other one
audio recording
on
of myself
the
in Tom Flash
gender
in court
child
again is
mutilation
audio
stuff.
only with the
And
judge.
yeah, just real quick
But
to
the
put a
reason I
fine
don't
point on
play
it,
it
also as we wrap
is
up
because
Pride Month. Good
Tom
God.
Flash was screaming his
Sanity
head
prevails.
off. It looks like
The
a total
Democrats are
idiot.
nuts. I wanted to bring you a little information about gender dysphoria and just how
So
important
I don't
this
wish
stuff
to
is.
add
So,
insult to injury.
child mutilation
That's not
is
a pleasant
bad, okay?
situation.
You know, like we could all agree on that, right? But I don't think a lot of people
But I
really
will play
understand
it.
the
The reason I'm
depth
talking about it is
of what's been
just to
happening
prove
here. Because in many respects, the nuttiest thing of all is that child mutilation is even a debated topic of conversation. I mean, how did we ever arrive?
Hi, Dunny. Allow me to introduce a great American culture.
What's going on?
You see it.
What the fuck's that big mouth fucking running her yak for, dude? That thing right there. is a
She's
piece of
live. Go
work.
listen to her. She's live.
just
I don't know if
listened
she
to it on
knows I'm
yours.
kind of restreaming her. I don't know if she'll turn me in or not. If she does, I really don't care. She actually helped me out. She
She turns everybody in, dude. We're talking about a woman that like 5 years ago.
No, I'm
I
not
seen
going to
her.
have you come up here and talk about Rusty. I'm sitting here listening to what she's saying because of what happened, and you probably should just keep your nose out of it.
Well, why? She just jumped on me the other day.
I don't care. I don't care, Ziggy. You're in with Wiggin. You're on the bandwagon about Billy
I'm
being
in
a
with
pedo.
Wiggin. Wiggin hates me. What are you talking about?
Yeah, right.
I'm serious. What do you mean? I don't go and talk to Wiggin. When the fuck was the last time you saw me over there?
All right. Let me ask you this then. You
Uh-huh.
buddies with Gotti?
Well, of course. I've known him
Do you know
fucking way before
Gotti's-
I even knew you.
Hold on. Shut the fuck up.
Don't do that. Don't say that.
I'll fucking kick you. Shut the fuck up and let me talk.
I know you will kick
Do
me,
not
but don't
talk
say that.
over me. Shut up and listen.
Don't say shut up. I said that before. I don't take kind to that. Just tell me what.
Bye. I don't fucking need to talk to you, you dumb fuck. The fuck out of my face, you punk
These people get to
motherfucker.
practice medicine. It is a remarkable thing. And so, yeah, while many blue states have expressly legalized child mutilations, most red states have gone the other way. And that was what the Supreme Court ruled. It was the 6-3 decision in Tennessee's related law. A lot of states have the law, but Tennessee's specifically prohibits all medical treatments intended to allow a minor to identify with or live as a purported identity inconsistent with minor sex, or to treat that condition. So yes, some sanity to put an end to the child mutilation. All right, the BBB. It's a beautiful thing for you and me. I'll explain next. Brian Mudd in for Mark Levin.
Whoa,
News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Tax relief helpers for details or restrictions.
Attention.
Whoa. Too bad, Ziggy, you don't like it. Too bad. Go open your own panel. We're not friends. I don't hang out with you. You and I don't have anything in common, Ziggy.
Okay, so
Zero.
got about 15 minutes. I'm pretty much done warning people, complaining about them. Nobody's coming up on the panel. I did post the link. I'm going to do it one more time, take a music break, and then I get on out of here.
There you are. She's got a panel, Ziggy. Go fucking go up on Rusty's panel.
Go do something.
Ain't no point in me going up there. I mean, there might be. One thing is for sure. Well, JC isn't happy that Rusty was up on my panel the other night. That's a fact. So fuck you, JC. And fuck you, Wiggin. Wiggin, come on, don't call me a pedophile. I dare you. Wiggin, I went into your chat. Rocky Goldman was sitting right here. I told him I was going to clone him and go in there and do it. He watched the whole fucking thing. You're an idiot. That was me, you dumb fucker.
And they can do the same.
You fucking went off like it was Rocky.
Interest financing options.
You are one dumb fuck.
Visit growyourhairback.com or call 703-763-0016. That's 703-763-0016. Don't wait. Get your confidence back today.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news.
Anybody have a birthday? Rocking on birthday today.
News now.
WMAL News at 7. I'm Heather Curtis. Police.
So if I go to Rusty's with this handle right here, and she has me blocked, I won't be able to see her link. But I can see her link on this other phone. I can see it here.
Officials say the 20-year-old intentionally set the fire and began shooting after firefighters asked him to move his vehicle.
Rolly was found to be in possession of a Kickstarter.
Yeah, it's the same person. You just don't. You're just not funny. Yeah, you're just not cutting it.
Minor interactions, including welfare checks, confirming he received information that he wanted to be a firefighter, but had not identified a motive.
It's early, 7 o'clock.
If you live in Montgomery County, don't forget to bring a reusable bag to the grocery store. A new law proposed by Council President Kate Stewart goes into effect in the county tomorrow, banning plastic bags. If you want a paper bag, it will cost you a dime.
5 cents going to the retail establishment, which is an increase over what it used to be, and 5 cents being allocated to our water quality protection fund.
That's double the current 5-cent fee on paper bags. Lucky us, as gas prices fell across most of the country last week, they dropped about a dime around here.
It's all about time. Gas buddy analyst Patrick DeHaan tells WMAL while we saw a jump at the pump.
That flies in the face of what happened nationally. The national average actually falling 4 cents a gallon in the last week, dropping to about $3.14.
DeHaan says reaction to the Middle East happenings varied in the moment, but now
what I expect this week is that the Houston metro area will likely start to see gas prices trickling back down just ahead of July 4th. Motorists need not be in any hurry.
Fill that tank later in the week when it's a few cents cheaper. John Matthews on WMAL and WMAL.com.
Gas isn't the only thing that will make driving more expensive in Maryland. There are fee hikes going into effect tomorrow that were passed by the state legislature to help close a $3 billion budget deficit. Starting tomorrow, the fee for certificate of title will double to $200. The cost for emissions inspections will jump from $14 to $30, and the vehicle excise tax will increase from 6 to 6.5%. Registering a vehicle will also cost more. The fee for a passenger vehicle is $120, a $10 hike. Montgomery County Executive Mark Elrich outlined some other tax hikes going into effect in Maryland tomorrow.
There are increases in certain sales taxes, including the tax on vending snacks, IT services, and tobacco and cannabis products.
Maryland's new tax on data and IT services for businesses was one of the biggest sticking points in the budget. Republicans were able to persuade Democrats, were not able to persuade Democrats that it would be bad for business, but President Trump was able to get Canada to ditch its digital service tax for U.S. tech firms by cutting off trade talks after he found out about it. Now those talks are resuming. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
It was a mistake for Canada to vow to implement that tax. That would have hurt our tech companies here in the United States.
She says that's a big victory for U.S. tech companies. If you're going to do something illegal, it's probably not a good idea to have neon signs advertising it. An Alexandria man was arrested on a slew of charges, including possession with intent to distribute pot, cocaine, and mushrooms, after police saw a neon sign reading THC sold here on his illegally parked trailer in Navy Yard. Police found 340 grams of those drugs in Abel Adem Delta's trailer and arrested him. Traffic and weather next.
While serving in Iraq, our vehicle was hit. They didn't think I was going to make it. I'm Latoya Lucas, and I'm a veteran. I had to learn to live with the scars, both visible and invisible.
Name's Georgia.
DAV helps
That's
veterans
her
like
sister
Latoya
on the
get the
left.
benefits they've earned.
And
They help more than 1 million
Share.
veterans
And on
every
the
year.
right
My victory
is
is
Paulette
overcoming my
Betts.
wounds, so I
That
can
was
help
Dickie
other
Betts'
veterans.
wife.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Welcome to your country. Whether you're seeking the simple life or one of adventure, Country Living Loans is the lender who can help make your country life happen. Our mortgage professionals offer every customer a personalized approach, pairing your unique needs with 100 years of experience serving the Northeast. Because while there's no right way to live out here, there is a right way to finance it. Visit CountryLivingLoans.com. Farm Credit East is an equal housing lender, NMLS 522993.
Sponsored by Rumble, from spicy podcasts to wild live streams. There's always something new on Rumble. Watch, comment, and connect with a real community that's actually awake. Comment in the live chat and talk directly to your favorite streamers. Rumble provides you with your daily dose of uncensored fun, facts, and fire. Download the Rumble app on your Apple Play or Google Play Store today. Choose an open internet and free expression. Choose Rumble.com today.
Here's Michelle Murray in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
In the district, watch out for an accident in Southwest on 3rd Street at N Street, and in Southeast, there is an accident on 13th Street at B Street. Use caution there. Some slow traffic right now on 95 northbound between the Intercounty Connector and 198 with a report of an accident there. 95 in Virginia still slow southbound between Newington and Woodbridge, and the Interloop still slow through McLean between the Georgetown Pike and the Clara Barton Parkway and between 355 and Georgia Avenue. Outer Loop still a slow go from the Eisenhower Avenue Connector to the Wilson Bridge, and some delays through Greenbelt between the BW Parkway and the Greenbelt Metro exit. Now from GarageRepair.com, the WMAL Stormwatch 7 forecast.
Showers and storm droughts will close overnight. Tomorrow, a strong cold front will be a line of strong to severe thunderstorms during the afternoon and early evening. Highs in the 80s, less humid and sunny on Wednesday. I'm 70s meteorologist Steve Rudin in the First Alert Weather Center.
Right now, 90 degrees in Washington. I'm Heather Curtis on WMAL.
On 105.9 FM and
Orange cream bar.
the WMAL app. Mark Levin.
Into the 15th Street Illinois District building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
President Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill now on the floor of the Senate.
The Bernie Sanders.
The most dangerous piece of legislation in the modern history of our country.
You know, if you were like potentially on the fence about the BBB, if you're like, I don't know about this thing, that should be off the fence right there. When you got when you got Bernie Sanders saying, this is the worst thing that has ever been brought in modern history, And I know history because the only person who maybe has been around here as long as Joe Biden is me. Remarkably, far more lucid than the former president. Anyway, when Bernie Sanders says this is the most dangerous thing that he has seen, man, that's got to be awfully good for capitalism. That's got to be a good day when the socialist tells you it's the most dangerous thing. Must be really good for the economy and really good for
trash
you.
can.
So if you want lower taxes, do you want lower taxes? If you want lower taxes, the BBB, it's a beautiful thing.
Hope you're watching, Alicia.
And I'm going to break down exactly how beautiful it is.
I get
to you,
closer, but I don't want
what
to
it
drip on
means
my
to you
computer.
in just a few. But first, mentioned in the first hour, Brian Muddy in for Mark Levin about the Medicaid work requirements. And we needed to set the record straight on Medicaid work requirements because I never want to hear a person again talk to me about the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and people getting kicked off of Medicaid. Tom Tillis, go fly a kite. By the way, you are always a crappy candidate. You are not even a strong candidate. So, see ya. Not going to miss you. Or North Carolina semi-Republican. Some might say a rhino. But anyway, he's a no vote on the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Trump very excited that he is not going to run for re-election. He announced over the weekend, Tillis did, that he's out. Not going to miss you, Tillis. I don't want to hear from you or anybody else about Medicaid work requirements because you suck at life if you want to talk to me about Medicaid work requirements. And you are a slug. You are a real disgusting slug. Not even like the ones that are kind of cute. You're like, you know what? See what this one does here. Hopefully it doesn't tear up my garden. You know, that kind of slug? No, not even the one that might have redeeming quality. There's nothing redeeming about the kind of slugs that have been sucking off the government teat on Medicaid that would get kicked off of this thing. And so, yeah, I do not have any. I'm a nature lover, generally. That's kind of the way I roll. So I do not have anything get you run-the-mill slug. But I have a very strong aversion to your average able-bodied, take advantage of Uncle Sam kind of scumbag slug. And that's because in this instance, Sam I am, and you are too. We are Sam, right? Where's the money coming from that pays for all this? Say you work, you pay your taxes. And while you work your butt off to pay your taxes, they sit there like a slug and say, give me food and give me free health care. See, while spending more time studying the OBBBA, as the case technically happens to be, spending more time studying it than potentially some in Congress have, it's been clear that much like the lead up to 2017's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, you know, the original Trump tax cuts, there are just an endless amount of lies and mistruths that are being peddled to you. And of all the untruths, of all the misleading things, none of them has been more annoying to me. Nothing has grinded my gears more than all of the crap about Medicaid and SNAP cuts. Question for you. Do you believe that able-bodied people of working age should do at least 20 hours of anything constructive with their life in a given week? This is the question here. Do you think able-bodied people of working age should find 20 hours of anything other than sitting their butts on a couch eating bonbons? Do you think they should have to do 20 hours of anything constructive in your average week? And if you think that's the case, then 100% of the noise you hear about Medicaid and SNAP cuts is BS. It's absolute B-stinking-S. Under the Senate's version of the One Big, potentially aesthetically pleasing Bill Act, the Medicaid work requirements state able-bodied adults between the ages of 19 to 64, okay, between 19 to 64, able-bodied, must work, volunteer, or participate in job training or educational activities for at least 80 hours per month, which they break out to 20 hours per week to maintain eligibility. Okay. Able-bodied adults between the ages of 19 to 64 must work, volunteer, or participate in job training or educational activities. Do anything but be a slug. Do anything constructive in your life for about 20 hours a week, and you can stay on the government teat. And by the way, exemptions include pregnant women, any individual with disabilities, the medically frail, foster youth under 26, tribal members, those meeting TANF or SNAP work requirements, and caregivers of dependent children age 14 or younger. So you got a heck of a lot of exemptions in there too. Now, for SNAP requirements, the Senate version says able-bodied adults without dependents aged 18 to 65 must work, volunteer, or participate in job training or educational activities for at least 20 hours a week against the whole 80 hours a month kind of thing to maintain eligibility. Exemptions include parents or household members with dependent children 7 or younger. So very similar to the Medicaid piece, just a little bit different. Age range is slightly shifted. And then the exemption situation is a little bit different. So when you hear the fear being spread about Medicaid or SNAP programs, that's what we're talking about. 20 hours a week of anything constructive. Work. Try to find work. Try to go into some kind of training to make yourself useful to somebody at work. Volunteer. That's it. 20 hours. I can't even imagine not finding a way to do something constructive with my life for 20 hours a week. I'm in hour 16 of my day today. No kidding. This is the 16th hour I'm working today. I'll be 17 by the time I wrap up the show. That's today. I just cannot imagine not finding a way to accidentally even be productive for 20 hours a week.
And full of profundities. By the way, before we take a break,
but then they want free healthcare, free food, free everything paid for by you. It is just, so yeah, just say no to slugs. Say no to slugs. Anybody who says, we can't get rid of the people on Medicaid and SNAP, you're full of crap. You're full of crap. Now, I mentioned that if you want lower taxes, the BBB is a beautiful thing. Well, so the Burn, you heard him there. He huffed, he puffed. And you had Pocahontas who won. You had Tom Tillis that I referenced siding with the slugs. But in the end, it is likely that the majority of the Senate will soon pass President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act. It's not a given, but it is more likely than not, given that we've gotten this far. But it's not just that Trump's agenda is on the line. Let's talk about what actually is in this for you, what it really means to you, because all of the politics and the rhetoric around it, it's kind of like lost. And hold on, this is incredibly consequential for you. You remember during the debate in the lead up to President Trump's 2017 tax plan, right? The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Remember how you were routinely lied to by fake news? Remember how they told you that it would only be tax cuts for the rich and it would only be higher taxes for you? That endless drumbeat you heard for months before it finally passed in December of 2017. You know, the lying was so pervasive early on with the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, even after the new policy was in place. So this was after it passed and Americans began to start to feel the impact of this, or at least they should have if they were paying attention. Only 17% of Americans polled by NBC News and the Wall Street Journal thought that they were getting a tax break. That is how brainwashed people have been by your godless, soulless, and slanderous news media. That only 17% of Americans thought they were getting a tax break when they actually were. In reality, over 80% of Americans saw a tax break. And the average savings, $2,100 per tax filer per year. That first year. And that was a number that actually only grew over the past 7.5 years that it has been the law. I mean, and one of the things that I do think is instructive here is that is how effective your GSS media was at brainwashing people back then. That you could be receiving a $2,100 tax break and not think that you're getting it. Well, anyway, surprise, surprise, the GSS media has been at it again. But let's start with the bottom line. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act is a financial lifeline for the average household. This thing is huge. It's major money to you. How much? I'll break it down next. Brian Mudd in for the great one.
Mudd Blubin. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Sponsored by Rumble. Want to join 59 million others who are tuning in to a
Get up in here, and we'll beef later on. What's your beef?
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
You've been warned.
They say age is just a number, and at Valvoline, we think mileage is too. No matter what the number on your odometer reads, there's a Valvoline motor oil formulated to keep you on the road longer and keep your engine running stronger. And now for a limited time, when you buy any 5-quart bottle of Valvoline motor oil from your local Advance Auto Parts, you also get a free Valvoline High Mileage Club t-shirt and keychain. So stop by your Advance Auto Parts today, pick up a bottle, and join the club. See complete rules at promotions.valvolineglobal.com/advance/high mileage club. They say age is just a number, and at Valvoline, we think mileage is too. No matter what the number on your odometer reads, there's a Valvoline motor oil formulated to keep you on the road longer and keep your engine running stronger. And now for a limited time, when you buy any 5-quart bottle of Valvoline motor oil from your local Advance Auto Parts, you also get a free Valvoline High Mileage Club t-shirt and keychain. So stop by your Advance Auto Parts today, pick up a bottle, and join the club. See complete rules at promotions.valvolineglobal.com/advance/high mileage club.
From the award-winning morning show on America's favorite radio station, The Ticket, The Musers, the podcast.
So right now we're podcasting?
No, not yet.
He just put us into it.
No, I was accidentally podcasting.
Oh, we were for a second, but we're not. Yeah.
Well, we want to start intentionally.
We're back.
That was accident.
It was a false start. Three,
2, 1.
Every Wednesday, Junior Miller, George Dunham, and Gordon Keefe drop a new episode of The Musers, the podcast. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
I'm Shanola Hampton. I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org. Kids, they're just different than us. They have no inhibitions, consider silverware optional, and can find fun anywhere. And when kids get really sick, they're different than us too. Until now, children diagnosed with blood cancer have been treated like many adults. Not anymore. The Leukemia and Lymphoma Society proudly introduces the Dare to Dream Project, transforming treatment and care through advocacy, education, and the largest global clinical trial for kids with blood cancer. For the first time, a specific treatment can be matched to a specific type of cancer in a specific child. It'll be the biggest medical advancement for little patients in history. Dare to dream with us. Support the Dare to Dream Project and all the work that the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society does at LLS.org.
WMAL.
One of the most secure and hassle-free ways to pay. But DC politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com, guardyourcard.com, paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the Big Wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Making sense of your world.
There are a lot of things that really tick me off.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of the news. Breaking news and the inside story on 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of the news.
We need the full weight of the Republican conference to get behind this bill, and we expect them to, and we are confident that they will.
Yeah, so Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt today talking about the BBB, and Brian Muddy in for Mark Levin. President's going to have to put some serious weight down. You have Elon Musk in real time that is trying to put all of his weight down. He's already promised now to primary any member of Congress who ran on lowering the deficit, that they're going to get primary. And then he said yet again that we need a new third party. He said we only have one party in Washington, the Porky Pig Party, which is kind of funny. I mean, kind of. So anyway, there's that going on. So Elon is trying to blow up the BBB here at the 11th hour as we are getting ready to move from voter-rama in the Senate to an eventual floor vote. I think that may still be happening tonight. We'll see where the ball lands in this deal. Tell you what this actually means to you. You know, so often you just hear some numbers thrown around. A lot of it's about debt over the course of 10 years, often numbers that are just massive and may or may not mean a whole lot to you. And you just think somewhere along the way, the story doesn't end well with the whole debt picture and all that, which is reasonable and correct at a certain point. Well, what does this actually mean for you? Do you know, first piece, if the One Big Beautiful Bill Act doesn't pass and we just have nothing new that takes its place, do you know what you will end up paying in taxes? Do you know what the household savings is in today's money for the Tax Cut and Jobs Act that went into place, again, in December 2017? It amounts for the average tax filer to 22%. That's not peanuts. Not peanuts. For the average household, federal income tax liability your taxes would go up by $3,908 per year. If we don't have, at a minimum, the Trump tax cuts being made permanent, average household immediately sees a tax increase of over $3,900 per year. But wait, there's more, actually much more, because 84% of households will see additional tax cuts beyond the current policy.
It's nice out. I was just outside.
Annually. So you add it up, and here's what this actually means to you. $6,800. That's what's at stake per year for the average family. You can have a tax increase of $3,900 per year or an additional tax cut of $2,900 a year. And this comes when you factor in all the various different things that are in this. A beefed up child tax credit, no federal tax on tips or overtime pay, higher standard deduction. I mean, we're talking not just real money, but huge money staying in the pocket of the average person. And it's not a one-size-fits-all deal. It's packed with targeted breaks for a lot of folks who need it most, like seniors over 65, with increased deductions and the like. We'll talk about this more. Also, see about taking some of your calls, too. Brian Mudd in for the great one, Mark Levin.
And ignore politics. It's overwhelming, but we're citizens of a republic. The decisions made by our government affect our everyday lives. In order to be a good citizen, well, we have to read, we have to understand. We have to know the Constitution of the United States. That's why I'm so excited that Hillsdale College is offering a brand new free online course called The Federalist. Oh man, I'm going to love this. The Federalist Papers were written primarily by two of America's most important founding fathers, Alexander Hamilton and James Madison. Together, they explain how the United States Constitution established a government strong enough to secure the rights of citizens and safe enough to wield that power. Hillsdale's online course on The Federalist includes 10 lectures, each about 30 minutes long. You can take the course at your own pace. There's no cost to sign up, folks. Go right to levinforhillsdale.com to enroll. It's easy to get started. That's LEVIN for Hillsdale.com to register for free. levinforhillsdale.com.
On the BW Parkway northbound in Greenbelt, traffic is stop and go between Nats and Goddard and 197. Now on to the Beltway in Maryland. In Prince George's County, no delays on the inner loop or on the outer loop. In Montgomery County, no delays on the inner loop or on the outer loop. Into Virginia on the Beltway, you're good to go on both loops. 66 in Fairfax County, you're not hitting the brakes on the eastbound side or on the westbound side. In southbound 95 in Newington, it's jammed up between the Fairfax County Parkway and 123. And now from GarageDoorRepair.com, the WMAL Storm Watch 7 forecast.
Tonight, mostly cloudy with showers and thunderstorms likely early, then ending overnight. A low around 76. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with showers and thunderstorms likely. Highs near 91.
They say age is just a number, and at Valvoline, we think mileage is too. No matter what the number on your odometer reads, there's a Valvoline motor oil formulated to keep you on the road longer and keep your engine running stronger. And now for a limited time, when you buy any 5-quart bottle of Valvoline motor oil from your local Advanced Auto Parts, you also get a free Valvoline High Mileage Club t-shirt and keychain. So stop by your Advanced Auto Parts today, pick up a bottle, and join the club. See complete rules at promotions.valvolineglobal.com/advanced/high mileage club.
While serving in Iraq, our vehicle was hit. They didn't think I was going to make it. I'm Latoya Lucas, and I'm a veteran. I had to learn to live with the scars, both visible and invisible.
DAV helps veterans like Latoya get the benefits they've earned. They help more than 1 million veterans every year.
My victory is overcoming my wounds so I can help other veterans.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Everyone has a fave Wendy's Frosty flavor. And when you're choosing from chocolate or vanilla, it's not that hard. But now there's all new Frosty Swirls and Frosty Fusions. So try picking your fave from Oreo Brownie Fusion, Pop-Tarts Strawberry Fusion, Strawberry Swirl, Brownie Batter Swirl, Caramel Swirl, and Caramel Crunch Fusion. Not so easy now, huh? For a fresh way to Frosty, gotta be Wendy's. Open till midnight or later.
Participating U.S. Wendy's hours may vary by location. Oreo is a trademark of Mondelez International Group. Pop-Tarts is a trademark of Kellogg North America Co. LLC. Use for permission.
The doctor's office that accidentally mixed up your files has your social security number. The power company that mistakenly cut your service has your payment info. And the hotel that lost your reservation has your passport number. You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that can expose you to identity thieves. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Your phone has a lot of apps, but how many of them help you make sense of your world? The new WMAL app gives you the latest headlines, perspective from the voices you trust, and weather info to keep you in the know, all without having to remember yet another password.
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
Stream your favorite shows, get the day's top headlines, and access our podcast archives, all with the new WMAL app.
Thank you.
Get the WMAL app today on Google Play or the Apple App Store, and stay connected.
U.S. soccer fans, get closer to the players, voices, and stories of the beautiful game with the U.S. Soccer Podcast. Megan Klingenberg, Alejandro Bedoya, and host David Gass bring you behind-the-scenes access to U.S. Soccer's 27 national teams, including exclusive interviews, stories, and spotlights. The U.S. Soccer Podcast is out now. Find it wherever you listen to podcasts.
Making sense of your world.
Greatly appreciated.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
I love listening to you.
Making sense of the news.
It's your daily adult dosage of the Constitution. The Mike Levine Show. Call it now at 877-381-3811.
If we don't pass the bill, the Council of Economic Advisors here at the White House has said that it's going to cause GDP to drop 4%, one of the biggest recessions in history because of a massive tax hike. And honestly, that's why this bill is going to pass.
Yeah, correct. Kevin has it there again. This is real money, right? This isn't like, oh, we're just throwing these big debt numbers out there and, it's theoretical tax savings. And, look at the illegal immigrants that might not have Medicaid or SNAP or something. No. What does this actually mean to you? This means if this doesn't pass, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expires. It means your taxes go up by $3,900 per year. That's step one. For all the sub-moron Democrat whoever's out there, they're like, yeah, let this thing expire. You don't want $3,900 in tax savings? You lie. You're not telling the truth. But again, that's the jumping off point. Taxes for the average household would go up $3,900 a year. Or you pass this, not only does that not happen, but your household sees an additional $2,900 in tax savings beyond where you are today annually. What do you want? You want $6,800 round trip in tax benefit or not? And this is where the rubber really meets the road. Nobody really breaks it down and has an honest conversation about these things. By the way, Brian Mudd in for Mark Levin, host of the Brian Mudd Show. My home station, WJNO in West Palm Beach. Catch the Brian Mudd Show podcast wherever you get your podcasts, at Brian Mudd Radio socially. Would love to connect with you. It is always truly an honor and a pleasure to be right here with you. And as always, there are two sides to stories and one side of facts. And we are talking about the facts of the one big, beautiful bill that might be in peril. So here's some other things that kind of go into this. Seniors get an additional boost. Do you have a car loan? Do you have an auto loan? Because if you do, there's a new deduction in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act for the interest that you're paying on car loans. You take a standard deduction, 91% of taxpayers do. The standard deduction for everybody increases if this thing passes. Servers, bartenders, anyone earning tips or overtime, huge, huge tax break too. And so the bottom line is that you take a look at the Senate version of the bill, and you have $6,808 for the average household that is on the line here. This is the choice. This is the choice. And so one of the most important conversations right now, if this does end up passing the Senate tonight, is with your House representative. Are they going to vote for the One Big Beautiful Bill Act? Or are they going to torpedo it, and along with it, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, Trump's tax policy the first time? So are they going to give you a $3,900 tax increase? Or are they going to give you an additional $2,900 tax cut? That is the conversation here. And oh, by the way, that's just what's in it for you. Because lest we forget, Trump's entire agenda is in this thing too. You want to be able to finish the southern border wall? You want to carry out mass deportations of illegal immigrants? So when you talk to your House representative, you can remind them that you voted for Trump's agenda, not theirs. There's one thing above and beyond with this, because I get the debt piece. I do. There are legitimate arguments around the amount of spending and everything else that's going on here. But you know who wants this thing? Donald Trump wants this thing. Now, when has Donald Trump, in his first term, or so far in his second, when has he demanded that he get something where we haven't won in the end? What thing has he been so adamant about that when he got it, it backfired, it blew up on us? If anybody deserves the benefit of the doubt, it is the President of the United States. So the bottom line is that you pass the One Big Beautiful Bill Act because it's huge money to you and me. And it's Trump's agenda that is hanging in the balance with this thing. And by the way, I'm going to do a little bit more breaking down specifically on how those numbers come to be, because I know I already some questions that are around that thing. But first, let's go to the phones. Patiently, William in Salt Lake City has been hanging on. William, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm calling via Sirius Satellite. I wanted to say, spare my worthless and forgetful, if not ignorant life, as I throw myself at your feet, that I had a couple of questions. It goes back a ways. You were talking earlier about the candidate for New York City. Did I can't pronounce his name?
Mamdani?
And yeah. And then I heard back then that everybody was going to put a boycott on everything New York State. Business and occupation, good heavens, everything. And everything in New York taxpayer dollars were going to convict President Trump on and avoid and go to a boycott and avoid New York State businesses. Did you ever hear about that? You know who started it? Is it still on? And at what point should it be lifted? And I had a question about the geography of New York City.
Okay, so, I mean, the couple things that are interesting here, because I'm actually in the third hour of the show going to get into New York City's demise in some of this. The boycott of New York City, there's no effective boycott that I'm aware of that is currently in place. And the one thing that you do have that's going on in real time in New York City is that businesses that were already fleeing, they're speeding that up. Businesses that had not fled New York City but were on the fence are now getting off the fence, and they're not waiting to the election. And then you have a lot of businesses, and specifically talking about Wall Street in particular, where they were not even considering leaving that are now getting onto the fence, waiting to see whether or not you're going to have what it basically amounts. I mean, he calls himself a socialist, but in reality is a communist. That is the next mayor of New York City, someone who wants government-run grocery stores and doesn't believe that there should be rich people, and actually has advocated for the end of the prison system, among other things. So anyway, we'll get into New York's situation a little bit and how it plays into some of the bigger picture in the third hour. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what you're talking about, not aware of anything that's really effective that way. The biggest people that New Yorkers have to worry about from a business standpoint right now is everybody who has brain cells that are left that can leave the city, that are in the process of doing so based upon how the city is eating itself in real time. Let's go to Ward in Texas. Ward, welcome to the show.
Thank you. You're talking about people required to work
Yes, sir.
when they're on the government dole. How about if you're on unemployment, you have to work?
Yeah, so you're talking about checking in and needing to keep up with requirements to maintain unemployment.
No, I'm talking about they got to work 20 hours a week. I see it every day.
Yeah, so when you talk about somebody that's on unemployment, obviously to keep up with what you're supposed to do in order to maintain unemployment is show that you're looking for a job. Because obviously you wouldn't be on unemployment if you are actually working at least 20 hours a week. So I think ultimately what you mean is that people need to be doing that. But you have had many locales who say that you should be on unemployment and you can't find work or whatever, that you get it. There's not really any checks and balances there. And so, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of places that have run unemployment that way for quite some time. And, we're talking about getting back to some accountability here. This is the same thing. It's why it's absurd on its face that we're talking about work requirements for Medicaid and for SNAP. Because the people that would be kicked out, again, all we're talking about, it's just kind of like your idea of the unemployment benefits where, okay, you don't have work, you can collect unemployment, just show us some evidence that you're actually trying to go work again. And you get to keep those benefits. Well, okay, so you want free health care. You want the American taxpayers, everybody else around you that is not sitting on the couch eating bonbons, you want them to pay for health care for you so you can go about having that for free. Okay, and you want food stamps along with that. So you want us to pay for your food and your health care. What we are requiring of you to do that, 20 hours a week of anything constructive. This could be 20 hours a week of work. This could be 20 hours a week of job training. This could be 20 hours of work or a week of educational activities if you're in school or going back to school. It could be 20 hours a week of volunteering. So in other words, there is something that everybody could do. It's not I can't find work. It's not I'm having a real hard time even finding, opportunities to job train. There are no excuses here. You can always find some place you could volunteer. So that is all that is required for these types of things. And so, yes, getting accountability back into these government programs is paramount. And that's all we're talking about is the absolute minimum amount of accountability in these government programs with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. And it is repulsive and it's actually offensive that you would have some people that would say, no, we can't do that. We can't have even 20 hours of volunteering for people of working age that are able-bodied. It's downright offensive. Let's see. Take a look. I want to get into some of the details here about the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and how I got from here to there and the numbers, because already have had some questions that have come in and like, okay, well, here's my situation. Does this mean I'm going to get, this big of a tax cut and how this all goes down?
So I want to break down very specifically how the number adds up to the $2,900 in additional tax savings that I was just bringing you, along with talking about what's at stake if we lose the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So I will begin that part of the conversation next. Brian Mudd in for the great one.
Mud, love in. Washington's best way to wake up. O'Connor and Company with Larry O'Connor. Weekday mornings from 5 to 9 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of
the doctor's office that accidentally mixed up your files has your social security number. The power company that mistakenly cut your service has your payment info. And the hotel that lost your reservation has your passport number. You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that can expose you to identity thieves. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
SweetDeals.com lets you spend less and have more. Save at least 50% on extraordinary restaurant, product, and entertainment deals. Plus, amazing vacation packages. Live large and save money while doing it. Go to SweetDeals.com today and start saving.
School absences are often due to the absence of necessary resources. But when Communities in Schools is present, students are connected to the support they need to show up ready to learn. Visit communitiesinschools.org. Being present matters.
At Average Alice Furniture Warehouse, our sofas have cushions, our tables have 4 legs, our recliners recline. So come on by for a perfectly average experience.
Cumulus Digital doesn't stop at average. We work with more than 4,000 local businesses every month, delivering campaigns that beat industry averages by over 25%, driving real, measurable growth. You're not average. Your results shouldn't be either. Visit cumulusdigital.com to start outperforming today.
Making sense of the media.
The news media is attacking them because this is what happens when you're a Republican.
Chris Plant, weekdays 9 to noon.
Yeah, our news media, really.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of the news.
Hi, I'm Steve Garrett. Check out the only current podcast dedicated to America's sports car, the Chevrolet Corvette. It's called Corvette Today. Corvette Today is almost 6 years old. It's a weekly podcast. A new episode comes out every Monday night at 12:01 Eastern Time. Corvette Today also has a YouTube channel, so whether you like to watch the show or listen to the show, you have choices. And having choices in life is a great thing. Get everything on our website at CorvetteToday.com.
75 years of research,
75 years of policy,
75 years of opportunity,
75 years of freedom. This is 75 years of the Muscular Dystrophy Association.
Join us at MDA75.org.
Kids ask their parents a lot of questions.
Why can't people fly?
Gravity.
Is the moon really made of cheese?
Yep, cream cheese.
When can I move into a big kid's car seat?
For some questions, parents may not have the answer, but that's okay. They can't know everything, but knowing the right seat for their age and size will help protect them in a car crash. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Where do babies come from?
Good luck, Dad. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Now entering the cage of doom, Algebra 2! Who will step up to his challenge?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college. Find out which classes you need at knowhowtogo.org.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
The men and women of America's Navy do some amazing things to make the world a better place. So can you, whether it's by donating food or simply giving time right in your own backyard. Brought to you by America's Navy.
Pure Talk, my wireless company, a veteran-led company, believes every man and woman who has faithfully served this country deserves to proudly fly an American flag that was made in America. That's why Pure Talk is on a mission to give an allegiance flag, the highest quality American flag ever, to 1,000 U.S. veterans in time for the patriotic holidays. Switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk today. Know that you're supporting a company that will be providing these high-quality flags made in America to deserving veterans. With plans from just $25 a month for unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data, you can enjoy America's most dependable 5G network while cutting your cell phone bill, in many cases, in half. The average Pure Talk family saves over $1,000 a year. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword Mark Levin, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service will get you switched hassle-free in as little as 10 minutes. Again, dial pound 250 and say Mark Levin to switch to a wireless company that supports our veterans. Switch to Pure Talk.
Making sense of your world.
I agree with everything you're saying.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
My heart just breaks for what's going on.
Making sense of the news. WMAL's Vince Colonnese. Weekdays at noon on 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of the news.
Unemployment hit a 50-year low, poverty levels at record level lows, and incomes grew.
Yeah, that is Senate Majority Leader John Thune. That was him on the floor today talking about the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and referenced how we were being lied to for so long that you didn't even have a fifth of people after the tax cuts had begun to kick in that thought they were getting a tax cut when they were getting over $2,000 a year in tax benefit. But what does it mean to you today? Well, again, the average household, if the Trump tax cuts of 2017, if they expire, if we don't pass the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the average household sees a tax increase of $3,900. Then you get into the tax savings. And I mentioned for the average household, it's an additional $2,900 in tax benefits. So let's get to some of the details on this. So one of the first things that impacts just about everybody, you have 91% of people that use a standard deduction. The standard deduction under the One Big Beautiful Bill is raised to $16,000 for individuals, $32,000 for married couples. That is $1,000 more per person than the current law. So again, 91% of all taxpayers immediately benefit from that. You're familiar with the concept of no tax on tips and overtime. The bill does eliminate federal income taxes on tips and overtime pay through 2028 at a minimum. The tax savings per eligible employee. So if you are someone who earns tips or earns overtime pay during the course of a year, the average savings will be $1,750 just on that piece, just on your tips piece, just on the overtime piece. Big money. The child tax credit increase. So the child tax credit would be permanently set at $2,000 per child with an increase to $2,500 through 2028. That benefits over 40 million families on the increase in the child tax credit. The senior tax break that I've referenced, so it raises the standard deduction for seniors 65 and older to $6,000. This equates to an additional tax cut per single filers of just over $1,000 annually. And if you're a joint filing couple, both over 65, you're talking $2,000 additional dollars on average per household just on the increase in the senior tax break. I mentioned car loans. If you have a car loan, there is a provision that will allow you to deduct, even using the standard deduction, your auto loan. That'll save the average person with a car loan $475 per year in taxes. And again, when you blend all of this stuff out, it comes down for the average household to an additional $2,900 tax cut per year. So you can have a $3,900 tax increase or an additional $2,900 tax cut. And if you played man on the street, your average Democrat voter, what are they going to do here? If anybody's having an honest moment, what are they going to do here? And this is why it's important to get in the ear of your House representative, because they need to know that not only do you not want a $3,900 tax increase because they can't get their button gear, you want your $2,900 tax decrease from what you're already paying right now. That is what's at stake here. And again, 84% of households see the increased tax break. That's what we're talking about. Brian Mudd in for the great one, Mark Levin.
Making sense of your world.
I agree with you 100%.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
There's a lot of us out there.
Making sense of your money.
The state of the economy, the ability to afford your life. That's what people want.
WMAL's Vince Colonnese, weekdays at noon.
The kind of thing I pay attention to, I'm looking at.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers, and sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details. And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
This is my new best friend, Esther. She might look like any normal, playful puppy, but Esther's being raised to become a canine companions for independence assistance dog for a person with a disability. To get there, she needs lots of loving care and attention, plenty of exercise, and good eating habits so that she can live a long and healthy life for her future family. Visit cci.org or call 1-800-572-BARK. Raise a puppy, change a life. You can make a world of difference in the life of a person with a disability.
At Average Amy's Coffee Corner, our coffee has caffeine, our muffins are cooked, and our services, well, we're here. Come on by for an average cup of joe.
Average doesn't build great businesses. Cumulus Digital does, outperforming industry benchmarks by more than 25%. We deliver smarter digital marketing to over 4,000 local businesses every month and drive real, measurable growth. You're not average. Your marketing results shouldn't be either. Visit cumulusdigital.com to start outperforming today.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now.
This is a Fox News alert. He will plead guilty. I'm Lisa Becerra. The accused killer of 4 University of Idaho students in 2022 has accepted a deal.
Bryan Kohberger's plea change to guilty for the murders of 4 University of Idaho students was made in exchange for taking a possible death penalty off the table. The families of the victims, who were killed in off-campus housing near the university in Moscow, Idaho, were notified of the decision. The family of one of those killed, Kaylee Gonsalves, responded in anger on social media, saying it was unexpected and that the state of Idaho failed them. Kohberger's trial was set for August.
Fox's Gernal Scott. Authorities in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, said the suspect in yesterday's deadly attack on firefighters opened fire when they asked him to move his vehicle. 20-year-old Wes Raleigh was found dead with his weapon next to him. Cootouny County Sheriff Robert Norris says fire crews pushed Raleigh's vehicle off an embankment.
Deputies who responded on scene to protect life and engage the suspect thought it would be in their best interest to get rid of what they thought was Raleigh's vehicle.
Norris says they believe that Raleigh deliberately set the fire to lure firefighters into an ambush. Voting on amendments to President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill continues in the Senate with a final vote on the package expected late tonight.
Even if the Senate passes the bill, the House is uncertain. Republican Don Bacon announced his retirement today, but Bacon says that doesn't liberate him to either oppose or support the bill. The House Freedom Caucus claims the Senate bill increases the deficit. The caucus says, quote, it's not what we agreed to.
Fox's Chad Pergam on Capitol Hill. President Trump has been pushing Congress to pass the measure before the 4th of July holiday. America is listening to Fox News.
Special election decided. I'm Sharon Reardon from the Novak Motors News Desk. Good evening. The stage is now set after weekend primaries for the special election in Virginia's 11th congressional district.
We're not in this alone. We are a team on the Republican Party. And so all the resources, all that energy, we're going to all work together. And I'm going to win this seat, and I'm going to help them win their seats as well.
Stuart Whitson, the GOP candidate in the heavily blue 11th district, where Fairfax Supervisor James Walkinshaw won the Democrat vote. Whitson on WMAL's O'Connor Company throwing down.
Walkinshaw, if you're listening, I got a challenge for you. Let's debate, and let's do it this week.
The special election is set for September 9th. Barbara Britt, WMAL and WMAL.com.
If you're going to do something illegal, it's probably not a good idea to have neon signs advertising it. An Alexandria man was arrested on a slew of charges, including possession with intent to distribute pot, cocaine, and mushrooms after police saw a neon sign reading THC sold here on his illegally parked trailer in Navy Yard. Police found 340 grams of those drugs in Abel Adams' Delta trailer on Friday night and arrested him. And lucky us, as gas prices fell across most of the county last week, they jumped about a dime here.
Yeah, it's all about timing.
Gas buddy analyst Patrick DeHaan tells WMAL while we saw a jump at the pump.
That flies in the face of what happened nationally. The national average actually falling 4 cents a gallon in the last week, dropping to about $3.14.
DeHaan says reaction to the Middle East happenings varied in the moment, but now...
What I expect this week is that the D.C. metro area will likely start to see gas prices trickling back down just ahead of July 4th, so motorists need not be in any hurry.
Fill that tank later in the week when it's a few cents cheaper. John Matthews on WMAL and WMAL.com.
WMAL News Time is 8:04. I'm Sharon Reardon, and now here's your WMAL traffic and weather from the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
Virginia side of the Beltway looked at the cameras, so you're good to go on the inner loop and on the outer loop. Onto 95 in Virginia, southbound in Norrington, jammed up between the Fairfax County Parkway to 123. Into Maryland, on 95 northbound in Calverton, there is a crash.
You say, Cody, all I can smell are feet. That motherfucker's got some stinky ass motherfucking feet. Motherfucker took his shoes off here, and that's all I could smell were stinky feet. I don't know. I hope Cody's all right, but he's a little out there. Perfect.
And then we found crystalflush.com. It was the only thing that worked. In just a few weeks, his toes looked amazing. He's now walking around barefoot again. You guys need to try this. I'm telling you, this stuff is different. It's not sold in stores, but go check it out at crystalflush.com. They'll even let you try it risk-free, so you have nothing to lose. But whatever you do, don't let it get worse. You don't have to live with this anymore. Go check it out now. Just click over to crystalflush.com.
Looking for a sign to start that summer home refresh finally? Early access to Blinds.com's 4th of July mega sale is happening now. Blinds.com invented a better way to shop for window treatments with upfront pricing, no showroom markups, and no salespeople in your home. Choose from classic shutters to outdoor shades and more, all backed by our 100% satisfaction guarantee. Shop early access to Blinds.com's 4th of July mega sale now. Save up to 40% site-wide, plus a free measure. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Wow. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. Mark Levin.
He's a Democrat socialist, really a communist, who proudly calls to defund the police, peddles anti-Semitism, praises pro-Hamas groups, wants Israel abolished, and believes wealthy Americans should not exist.
That is a pretty solid guy, really. You get past the whole, hey, it's communist thing, not so bad. What a week. What a week plus we've had. New York City's demise is going to be the gain of a lot of other places, but most especially Florida and South Florida, where I derive from in particular. And we'll talk about some enormous damage here as well. Brian Mudd in for Mark Levin. By the way, I like my setup is the opposite of Mark's in like every possible way, because I'm not in an underground bunker and all that. I sit in a studio 7 feet above sea level that once had its roof ripped off during hurricanes, all that kind of stuff. So it's nowhere near that kind of bunker stuff. Not too far from where the president lives when he's not at the White House these days. But other than that, let's get into this a little bit, talking about some of what's happened over the past week, some perspective as we take a look at where we're going from here. As we wrap up the first half of the year, one of the things that's just kind of like back crap crazy. AOC, she qualifies. By the way, some breaking news here. This is interesting. Orders are Tom Homan. He has confirmed that AOC is under federal investigation now for employing a criminal illegal. This is great. Not only has AOC on her congressional staff, allegedly, employed an illegal alien, but a criminal illegal alien. That's fun. And has also taught that staffer how to evade ICE. This alleged by Tom Homan. This is, that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting. That'll be something. Speaking of New York City just kind of eating itself. Good Lord. But anyway, 1984. I say 1984. What comes to mind? It might be big hair, right? Might be big, some good music. There's some, I'm a fan of the 80s music. But now for me, like if I'm thinking 84, way I'm wired, kind of like the first thing that comes to mind, the Reagan Revolution. It was in full swing. The Gipper carried 49 states. One of the things that pains me to this day for Ronald Reagan, that he lost Minnesota by less than 1 point. He came within a point of a clean sweep of winning every single state. Unreal, right? Anyway, but I think of that when I think of it. I think of George Orwell. When I think 1984, that book comes to mind. The theoretical future that kind of seems a little too real until around January 20th. And something that doesn't come to mind when you hear that year is Iran, right? When you think 1984, you're not thinking about Iran, are you? But just kind of putting some things in perspective for a moment. You know how you had heard about the Iran nuclear program for as long as you could remember, and that it was a problem? They were going to work on building a nuclear program that eventually they're going to work on nuclear weapons, and then they are working on all this stuff. 1984. That's how long this has been going on. That was when Iran started their nuclear program. And so you got to take a look at what's happened in just over the past week. 41 years worth of worry and frustration came crashing down with 14 MOPs. And then 1949. What comes to mind when you think of 1949? Other than maybe like Joe Biden having been in his third term in the Senate by that point. It might have been his fourth, but, I think it was his third. Now, I'm not sure if anything specific comes to mind, but that happens to be the year that NATO, speaking of Biden, was established. In 76 years is how long, as Americans, we have been getting ripped off by our allies. Now, despite NATO having 32 nations, we, the United States, have paid 68.7% of the freight for defense within the alliance. Because here's the next point that is really important in this conversation that I want to drive home, because I didn't really hear this being done. And again, it's kind of my thing to be the analytical fact person, fill in some of these blanks. The United States, we pay 68.7% of the freight for defense within the alliance. When you hear that NATO is being at these countries were being asked to spend 5% of their GDP, why? Was that just a number that Trump pulled out of thin air, going back to the first term of his administration? Was it just, an arbitrary? No, it was not. That unbalance is how much we need these countries to pay for them to be accounting for their population-adjusted share of NATO defense. When you adjust for population, the United States is 35% of NATO. Again, we have been paying 68.7% of defense spend within this alliance. And this has created all kinds of opportunities for us to be taken advantage of, because one of the big things about being in NATO is what? Well, if you're in it, then any act of aggression against any NATO member means that everybody else has to defend them. And so what ended up happening from the word go 76 years ago, everybody just let the United States do it. Oh, A, nobody's going to attack us because we've got the U.S. involved in NATO. And B, the United States is going to take care of it anyway. Let them pay for the world's defense. And we did that. And so what Trump accomplished last week, when he got every NATO country but Spain to agree to spend 5% of their GDP on defense, was that he's ensuring that we're not going to get ripped off the way we have been for 76 years. Just like that, 76 years of Americans being ripped off, protecting everybody else, came to an end. And by the way, as for Spain, I don't know if you caught this, but, so Spain went rogue. They're like, no, we're not going to go along with it. And they're somewhere in the neighborhood of like 2% in their defense spend. Trump said, yeah, their trade deal, they're going to be paying double what all other European countries pay to do trade with us. So if you have anything you want to buy from Spain, by the way, it's time to do it before that hits. But anyway, so they're not going to get a free lunch on that deal anyway. But here's what this means to you and me. And this is another piece, as we've been talking about the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and as we've been talking about the tax savings, but also you take a look at the costs of this thing over time. What you hear in terms of the numbers about debt being added and the spending, a lot of times historically, when you have numbers that come out of Congress like this, it ends up being worse than what you hear originally. Donald Trump's administration is the only time it's gone the other way. That was true with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, where the Congressional Budget Office was, projecting only about 2% growth, and we ended up getting 4%, meaning that we ended up being in a much better fiscal situation until COVID than they said we were going to be with the passing of that tax policy. And we've got a different version of a similar thing going on here, because not only is the Trump tax policy, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, likely to be far more stimulative to the economy, thus producing more tax revenue than what the CBO is projecting, but there are other things that come into play. For example, just getting NATO to pay their fair share. Do you know what we're going to be able to do once they're up to speed on this? That carries an estimated annual cost savings to you and me of $440 billion per year. If you want to know how much we've been getting ripped off as Americans per year by our NATO allies, and I say that in parentheses, $440 billion. That is what Trump got accounted for last week. Big time, right? And so as we're talking about just how good a lot of things have been over the past week plus, if you've been paying attention to your 401k, you're doing more than okay. We closed out the first half of the year record highs, having rebounded by well more than 20% from the April lows. in what proved to be one of the greatest buying opportunities in American history. Just as I may have predicted that it would be at the absolute lows in April, just saying. And by the way, you know what's interesting, that whole deal too, because, Liberation Day, that wasn't at the beginning of April, but that was part of this quarter. So that whole sell-off that happened was all inside of the second quarter, and yet the second quarter proved to be the best quarter for the NASDAQ in 5 years. So it's been an incredible ride. Our country has been winning. Trump's been winning. You're probably winning. I never get tired of it. It's good to actually do it again. But it's easy to miss a lot of it. One of the things that is set to lose, you might say bigly, that would be New York City. So about the New York City mayoral thing, 3 thoughts on this. Zohran Mamdani's winning the Democrat primary is the greatest gift known to the GOP. The second thought is that he may not win the general election, may not. And my third is that it's already a big win for a lot of places. They get business from New York. It's already a huge win in Florida, specifically South Florida, where I am. And if he does win the general election, it's going to be a historic win for South Florida. And on the first point about the gift to the GOP, having an overt anti-Semitic socialist winning the Democrat primary in the largest city in the country pretty much says everything you need to know about the state of the Democrat Party. Democrats time and again continue to pretend that they are not really socialist, at least in general elections anyway. In primaries, pretty much pandered to that anymore. But in general election, no, we're not socialist. Well, their policies are in line with socialist policies. Their elected officials are increasingly not just like overt socialists anymore, but actually guy preaches communism. I mean, we are talking about, and this is somebody who's on the record as saying, we want to seize the means of production. I mean, that quite literally is communism. So this guy is on the record that way. And also the whole government-run grocery store thing. Yeah. Hello, Cuba. So anyway, it's an easy contrast for any reasonably minded person to see that is made especially easy with politicians like Mamdani winning Democrat primaries. So you're going to continue to see Jews and Hispanics flee the DNC for the GOP. On that note, by the way, you just had the Pew Research Center. They completed their they have the most comprehensive study that's done. It's verified voters, only people that are verified to have voted in the previous presidential election. So the overall Jewish support for Republicans almost doubled. 16% historically, 31% last November. Hispanics, Trump increased the vote share by 8 points, ended up getting 45% of the Hispanic vote. And so you start taking a look at some of these things, and those trends are going to continue. And then you start to take a look at some of the other dynamics in that race, and I'll pick up there next. Brian Mudd in for the great one.
Mudd Levin. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Hey, you have to check out Macy's Backstage. It's a whole new floor inside your Macy's store. And right now, you'll find incredible summer deals all for under $25. Think dresses, matching sets, sandals, men's, and even kids' looks. Yes, all for under $25. And with new arrivals every day, you never know what amazing deals you'll find. So don't wait. Come in today and score them now before they're gone. Find a location at Macy'sBackstage.com. Off price, on trend, arriving daily.
It's sunshine savings at Widget Auto Sales, the used car leader. Plenty of late model vehicles with low miles on the lot right now, like a loaded 2016 Lincoln MKX, only $15,999, or a 2020 Acura TLX, beautiful, low miles, just $27,999. A 2018 Toyota 4Runner, 59,000 miles, would look perfect in your driveway. Hey, the sun is shining at Widget Auto Sales on Anna Washington Street, and see them online at widgetautosales.com, the used car leader.
Everyone has a fave Wendy's Frosty flavor. And when you're choosing from chocolate or vanilla, it's not that hard. But now there's all new Frosty Swirls and Frosty Fusions. So try picking your fave from Oreo Brownie Fusion, Pop-Tarts Strawberry Fusion, Strawberry Swirl, Brownie Batter Swirl, Caramel Swirl, and Caramel Crunch Fusion. Not so easy now, huh? For a fresh way to Frosty, gotta be Wendy's. Open till midnight or later.
Participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary by location. Oreo is a trademark of Mondelez International Group. Pop-Tarts is a trademark of Kellogg North America Co. LLC. Used with permission.
Are you annoyingly inattentive? Do you watch a movie and then ask a zillion questions because you weren't paying attention? Do people ask, how do you sleep at night? Then you should get a mattress from Mattress Firm. They can help anyone sleep. Mattress Firm's July 4th sale is on now. Get a king bed for a queen price and save up to $700. Plus, get a free adjustable base with select Sealy mattresses. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
It's time to start businessing. LegalZoom is here to help. Whether you're registering as an LLC or keeping it compliant, when you need a legal hand, turn to the #1 online legal services provider who's helped launch over 4 million businesses like yours. Visit LegalZoom.com because life is more legal than you think. LegalZoom provides access to independent attorneys and self-service tools. LegalZoom is not a law firm and does not provide legal advice. Visit LegalZoom.com.
In times of fear, World Vision is there for the most vulnerable. Through natural disasters, war, and disease, delivering life-saving aid and helping to rebuild lives. Learn more at worldvision.org.
Hey Lisa, how are you? It's been so long. Are you back for good? What's going on?
Hey, good to see you. Yes, I'm back for good and just trying to get my life back together.
Well, I'm so happy that you're home. It looks like things are going well. I've been seeing those pics you post of you and your family at all those fun events. What gives?
Oh, VetTix. VetTix gives.
What's VetTix?
VetTix is an amazing charity that gives free event tickets, like concerts, sporting events, and shows, to currently serving military vets and their families, and to the immediate families of troops killed in action. It's a really nice organization.
That is so nice.
These events have helped me feel like myself again, and all these new happy memories my family and I are making are priceless.
We have extra tickets sometimes. Can I donate them?
Yes, it's easy. Just go to vettix.org. You can give your extra tickets, and other vets like me can sign up to get them.
Awesome. I love that idea. What a great way to give back. I'm so glad you told me about it, and it was amazing to see you. And listen, thank you for your service.
When you're high, you feel different. But if you feel different, you drive different. So don't drive high. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You save, you plan for the future. And if you want to help preserve what you've built, now's the time to take a serious look at physical gold. Gold doesn't depend on Wall Street. It doesn't care what the Fed does. It's a proven store of value that can add strength, stability, and security to your retirement money. With all the uncertainty out there, rising debt, rising costs, and so forth, you need something real. That's why I recommend Advantage Gold. They make it easy to learn how to move part of your IRA or 401k into real gold and silver, backed by experience, integrity, and top-rated service. Call right now, 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Protect what you've earned with something you can hold in your hand and trust in your heart. Call right now, 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. It's never too late to make your portfolio stronger, smarter, and more secure. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
Making sense of your world.
Thank you for what you do.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
You give me hope.
Making sense of the news. Chris Plant, weekdays 9 to noon on 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of the news.
Mamdani's immigration policy is also raising eyebrows. He wants to strengthen New York City's sanctuary city law by not allowing any ICE cooperation in the city's jail. And he wants to spend $165 million tax dollars on providing illegal immigrants legal defense.
Yeah, there you go. That's winning. So that's Fox's Brian Yinnis on that report. I mean, what could go wrong with that situation? But again, this is somebody who was previously campaigned, not during this campaign, but he has campaigned in terms of his political activism for an end to the prison system, just an end to it altogether. So, I mean, not a big surprise, really, when you have somebody who's really an anarchist in addition to a communist. So, yeah, I mean, that'll work out great for New York if. So this is why, for example, there are a lot of other places that stand to win right now. So, I mentioned with the whole Mamdani thing that he's a gift to the GOP. This is another example because really hard for Democrats to continue to say that they really aren't for open borders and treating illegal immigrants better than they treat you and your family. But I did mention that he may not necessarily win. We'll see. You do have Mayor Eric Adams that's running as an independent. Same time, you do have Cuomo in I guess he's staying on the ballot, trying to decide if he's actually going to run a campaign, but he'll keep his name on the ballot at a minimum. I mean, that doesn't help Adams. You would figure that they might split votes. And who knows? I mean, maybe the single best thing that could possibly happen for New York City would be, Republican Curtis Lewa, of course, the founder of the Guardian Angels, to actually slide through somehow. Who knows? I mean, maybe if you get that whole really whacked out four-way thing going and, stars align and something amazing happens for the city, that would be cool. But anyway, yeah, I mean, look, Mamdani looks like he's in the driver's seat, and you got a lot of people that are like, so I'm out of here. And one of the great examples of this is a CNBC story recently. Their headline, Zohran Mamdani's victory in New York City mayoral primary leaves Wall Street alarmed and depressed. And as is cited pretty early in the story, they say, Philippe Lafont, founder of hedge fund Coates Management, told CNBC that a Mamdani win could trigger another exodus of wealthy investors. Since the pandemic, a wave of wealthy residents and institutional firms have fled the nation's largest city for low-tax states such as Florida and Texas. Right. And so South Florida already been dubbed Wall Street South due to the previous exodus from the semi-socialist state of New York. 56 financial firms relocated to Florida since the pandemic, since 2020. You have this happen? Oh my gosh. And in real time, you already have a bunch of firms that are leaving for South Florida already. So, Brian Mudd in for the great one, Mark Levin.
WMAL.
Well, July is here, and that means it's time to celebrate the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the United States of America. Let me tell you something. Birthdays aren't just about fireworks and barbecues. The greatest gift we can give this country right now is to stand up and defend her. That's exactly why AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, exists. AMAC fights every single day to protect the foundational values that built this nation. And in honor of America's birthday, they've got an incredible offer. 5 full years of membership. Hey, stay with me. 5 full years of membership with the Association of Mature American Citizens for $35. That's right. 5 years of standing with patriots, receiving their outstanding magazine, access to unbelievable benefits and discounts, and being part of a national movement to restore common sense in this country. Folks, don't sit on the sidelines. Grab this offer. Trust me, grab it. Go to amac.us/Levin right now. amac.us/LEVIN. Let's give America the gift of more patriots.
Life is more legal than you think, and LegalZoom is here to help. From setting up a will to secure your family's future, to taking the next step with your business and registering as an LLC, or sorting the permits to legally run it from home. Or maybe not. When you need a legal hand, turn to LegalZoom. Visit LegalZoom.com. LegalZoom provides access to
destroyed their nuclear capability, and we stopped. It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, sure enough was Brian Mudd in for the great one, Mark Levin. And it is always an honor and a pleasure being here with you. You can reach me at Brian Mudd Radio socially. Check out the Brian Mudd Show podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And one of my favorite things is spending time with you. And time flies. And so I want to, I'd be remiss if before the end of the show, I didn't talk about some of the unprecedented success. And so, some frustrations about some of the developments that are happening, including some of the challenges on the horizon with the BBB. We are set for unprecedented success. Maybe not New York City at this point, but this country, we have set ourselves up for unprecedented success. And it's got a lot to do with the President of the United States. So you take a look, I was talking about, so many of the great things that have happened over the past week. Trump's willingness to drop the MOPs on Iran's nuclear facilities. We have peace that is sticking a week later in that situation. NATO summit where, so 41 years worth of worrying about Iran's nuclear program deals with that. 76 years again ripped off by NATO. He deals with that. And then you start taking a look at some of the other things that are taking place. I mean, times have changed here. Gone are the days where wars mean boots on the ground. We can drop 14 MOPs and be done with. Gone are the days where we just get ripped off by the rest of the world. And you start taking a look at, okay, well, where are we heading now? So you remember where we were just over 5 years ago before the impact of the China virus? Remember when we had record low unemployment rates? Remember when we had a 4% growth economy? Remember when we had a 1% inflation rate? Remember when we had the best wage growth since the 90s? Remember when we had the lowest crime rates in decades? Remember when illegal immigration was no longer a problem? Along with relative peace and stability? I mean, think about it. That was just over 5 years ago. All those things existed into early 2020. In other words, do you remember when essentially President Trump had made America great again just prior to the impact of the pandemic? Okay. Here's what's happening. We are right now on a path towards unprecedented success in this country. If we stick the landing on this thing, if we don't screw this up, we're on a path towards unprecedented success. Here we are wrapping up the first half of the year today. And just over 5 months of Trump's second administration, it's been all about putting out fires. I mean, pretty much everything he's done up to now has been putting out fires. It's been cleaning up the mess that was left behind by Dementia Joe and Team Autopen. And some of the mess in this country and around the world is going to take a lot more time, right? Like, Russia's Ukrainian invasion and working out the situation in Gaza. But speaking of cleaning up Biden's messes and invasion, there is an awful lot of work to do on Biden's permitted illegal immigrant invasion. But we have learned from ICE recently. You wonder, how many criminal illegal immigrants were allowed into the country by ICE under the Biden administration? 435,719. There were criminal illegal immigrants, with an additional 226,847 pending charges against them. I mean, that's fun. So, we got that kind of a mess to be cleaning up too. But then again, the Supreme Court's rulings recently should help in a really good way to take care of those bad hombres. But speaking of something that'll help us towards unprecedented success on the immigration side, Customs and Border Patrol Even attempted border crossings are now down 93% from a year ago. Even the attempts are down 93% from a year ago. Those that actually gain access to our country remain at record lows, record recorded lows. But my real message in this thing is that if there is anything that we have learned by now, after 4 years and 5+ months of Trump as president of the United States, it should be to trust Trump's process. We should be trusting his process. Elon right now is saying, hey, basically any Republican, basically any member of Congress who ran on lowering the deficit, lowering talking about budget, I'm going to primary you and you're going to lose if it's the last thing I do on this earth. I mean, that is something that he is. I will point out that Elon tends to get emotional. We learned recently that he went full Epstein on Trump and then 2 days later was apologizing to him. So we have learned that Elon Musk has the ability on social media to lose his cheese and later regret it. So, I mean, maybe he'll sing a different tune, but he is talking again about doing a third party. He is threatening members of the GOP to try to tank the one big, potentially aesthetically pleasing bill. But I do think there's maybe even a 50-50 chance that one day you might see Musk break out his Trump was right about everything hat. Remember that hat? Trump was right about everything? Because how many times has Trump along the way said something that maybe even you, if you're a supporter, thought, you know what? That sounds crazy. It does not seem possible. It doesn't sound right. And then it might be years down the line and you're like, holy crap, he was right. President Trump has proven to be right about just about everything from a policy perspective, and importantly, all of the major things. So what does this mean? Because there's a lot of skepticism out there, and I get the concerns about the debt. But who did you vote for? And what did you vote for? Did you vote for Donald Trump? And did you vote for his agenda? Now, what does the man want? He wants this thing like we haven't seen him want things. He wants the One Big Beautiful Bill Act passed, period. So it's time to pass the BBB. Last week was all about foreign affairs, wrapping all that stuff up. This week, it's all about the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and specifically the fate of the Trump 2.0 agenda, because that's really the bigger thing here. And so you've got the Senate parliamentarian that becomes a fly in the ointment. As I said at the onset of the show, it is time for J.D. Vance to step in and do what he can do and put an end to the nonsense with the Senate parliamentarian. And some of the big things, like, for example, criminal illegal immigrants being able to stay on Medicaid because of the Senate parliamentarian, and Democrats that actually voted to keep it in place. Just so you are aware, today, Democrats have voted to keep all illegal immigrants in this country on Medicaid, and that includes the criminal illegal immigrants. So, again, you continue to not be treated as well as even criminal illegal immigrants in this country. But anyway, so you got things like that get involved. You'll hear about the Byrd Rule, the Senate rule adopted after, the KKK organizer, the long time now dead Democrat senator, that all the Democrats end up thinking was a great guy. I mean, what a great KKK organizer. And he's got this big rule that stipulates what can be considered for reconciliation. That's what the Senate parliamentarian rules on in the first place. So, I mean, again, Vance, the rule adopted by the KKK organizer and enforced by the parliamentarian, you can do things about this. So it's time that he should. But the bottom line is that we are on the path of unprecedented success, despite all the challenges that are in front of us right now. If we continue to move forward with all the recent wins, we give Trump what he wants, we deliver his agenda, you get an additional $2,900 tax cut on average over where you are right now.
Are you schizophrenic?
We're going to make America great again. Again. You know, it's going to be like it was heading into COVID, probably even better. But Congress has got to do its job this week, too. That is paramount in all this. Let's go to Robert in Little Rock. He's been very patient. Robert, welcome to the show.
Man, you missed your mud.
Yes, sir. Hey, Robert.
Yeah, I'm here in Little Rock. I'm a Medicaid and Medicare recipient. I'm disabled. And I'm wondering about this food stamp requirement. Does disability have a disqualifying for food stamps? Or do you know? You might not know.
The disability. So go back to the requirement. So, yeah, as a disabled person, Medicaid, you get to keep. And the way that the Senate version of the bill was written on SNAP is able-bodied adults without dependents aged 18 to 65. So that's where you get in, is able-bodied adults without dependents aged 18 to 65. So if you do not fall into that category as disabled, then that should not impact you.
Oh, I hope so. Either way, I can get a volunteer job at the shelter I used to stay at.
Well, Robert, may God bless you, my friend. Thank you for hanging in there. But yeah, if this passes Medicaid and SNAP, you should still be in line for. Appreciate you being there. Let's go to Tony in Clifton, New Jersey. Tony, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mr. Mudd. How are you tonight?
I am doing very well. How are you?
Good. I'm glad you're there with us. So I wanted to talk to you. You know, I'm so excited about the big tax bill. I think it's doing very well, and I think you're absolutely right. We need to give our president a chance. But I wanted to say that when I look at who was speaking, the moment I was watching was Senator Alex Padilla, who was ready to tackle our Secretary of State.
Yes.
So a Secretary of Homeland Security.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So, you know, he is actually, if you look at him, he was speaking. Now, the whole process was crazy because they read the whole amendment or whatever it was. They read the whole thing. But when I look at all of the people who are serving in our country today, I say to myself, you know, we have people who are Democrats who are not really Democrats. They're really communists and Marxists or whatever we want to call them. Alex Padilla is a case in point. He is, as we said, he went to tackle Kristi Noem had he not been intercepted. But he is on the budget committee. He is ranking member of a rules committee. He's on several committees, and you have to wonder where we're going wrong. The oath of office that all these people who serve take is very simple. It just says you're going to obey the Constitution. But we had two presidents who thought that wasn't enough at critical times, and I believe we are at a critical time. It was President Lincoln who did the ironclad oath of office, which said, you know, not only are you going to take your oath of office, but you're going to say that you've never participated in slavery or any such things like that, because that was crucial for the time. And you're also going to say that you've never done it. And then, if you do it, you understand you can be removed, because people don't seem to understand what the Constitution says about your country and supporting your country. It doesn't mean that you could turn. So that's what I want to see in legislation. I've been calling so far. I've been calling because when they take the oath of office, we have a misunderstanding about what that is. It doesn't mean you support illegal immigration. It doesn't mean, and then look at Eisenhower. He said the Anti-Communist Act, he was so worried about it when he became president after fighting the war. He said, you know what, you have to take an office the same way.
You're exactly right, Tony. I appreciate the call. You know your stuff, and you're right on point. These are historical times, and this has been the long game. You know, you point out that a lot of these people are basically Marxists that hide in, traditional Democrat clothing, at least in general elections still, to try to get themselves elected. I mean, Mark wrote the book on this a few years back, American Marxism, and They have played the long game. I mean, look, Woodrow Wilson was kind of like the all-time progressive, and a lot of this is just a different version of a similar thing. We've certainly talked about rules for radicals before. That quite literally is where Obama ended up studying from, and the Weather Underground Club. And so you take a look at how the long game has been played and how there is this ebb and flow throughout the course of history. And the politicians change, the issues specifically might change around the edges, but ultimately the mission is the same, and it's to collapse the system. It's to overwhelm the system, and then it's to implement communism. And that's what's happening right now, being attempted in New York City. You're right. That's all part of the election. So it's all, and I'm going to wrap this up very quickly, but it comes down to education, illegal immigration, and then law enforcement. And those three pieces are how you kind of get from here to there. I'll tie that together in just a moment. Brian Mudd in for the great one.
Mudd Levin. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the new.
It's sunshine savings at Widget Auto Sales, a used car leader. Plenty of late model vehicles with low miles on the lot right now, like a loaded 2016 Lincoln MKX, only $15,999, or a 2020 Acura TLX. Beautiful. Low miles, just $27,999. A 2018 Toyota 4Runner, 59,000 miles.
Last call. Excuse me. Last call, and then I'll see you on the flip side. I'm going to shut this puppy down. My meter reads 0. Why is that fan all of a sudden blowing right here? That motherfucker. Someone's very mad. Someone is just fucking out there. Sad and lonely. Fucking hilarious. Yeah. You're right, Yee Skirt. This is boring. That's why I'm leaving. You guys are boring. Wiggins a coward. He doesn't dare come up here and take me out on my channel. You won't see me go on JC's panel again. Just fucking all out war. All right.